1989 with Edmonton when he became the first quarterback ever to rush for 1,000 yards in a season. He was the Grey Cup MVP last November when he led the Baltimore Stallions to the league championship, the first and only by an American team. But when Tracy Ham was injured in the Montreal Alouettes season opener, the Owls struggled, losing their first 3 games. Since his return, we've seen Tracy Ham at his best, leading the Alouettes to 10 wins in their last 13 games and leading the league in passing. So it's Ham against Hamilton next. From Olympic Stadium, it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Montreal Alouettes. TSN, you're always live and interactive. You can play QB1 with tonight's football game. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the CFL Live on TSN. I'm Darren DeTish. It's our pleasure to be bringing you tonight's football game. We think it's going to be a dandy. Let me introduce you to our studio panel. To my right, from the Globe and Mail, columnist Marty York. In the middle, Les Brown. And out on the wing, it is the coach, Bob Obilovich. Now, this is a huge football game for both teams this evening. Hamilton still has a shot at finishing in second place in the Eastern Conference, but they have to win both of their remaining games. Montreal has to lose both of their games. Following this evening's clash, Hamilton finishes against Toronto, Montreal at Winnipeg. So the onus is on the Ticats. Coach, let's start with you. Can they beat Montreal tonight?
Well, I think the key for Hamilton to win and probably for the rest of the season to become a good team by playoff time is their defense. If their defense can play as well as it did against against Winnipeg last week, because their offense has been carrying that team all season, and based on the season play to date, Montreal's been the better team of the two.
I think Hamilton's got a shot at winning this game for sure because basically Anthony Cavillio is really hot. He's come off some really hot games, and he's got a receiver that is really hot as well, and that's Matt Cody with 11 touchdowns in receiving. And they got their spirited leader back on defense as well with Calvin Tiggle, and he pumps that team up. But I think Hamilton's definitely going to have to play 60 minutes of spirited, fun football tonight to win.
Well, Les, I think you're dreaming in Technicolor because I think Tracy Ham, speaking of hot quarterbacks, has been playing some great football. I think it's the best football of his career. With due respect to the year he had in Toronto under Bob Obilovich. No, he was terrible that year.
Always throwing that out there.
He was terrible that year.
But he was only there for a few games.
But, you know, he's number 1 in the league in passing efficiency right now, which is better than Doug Flutie. And I think the other thing you got to think about Montreal is the fact that they have Tracy Gravely and Grant Carter, the 2 best defensive players in the East.
Arguably the 2 best defensive players in the East, both outstanding. And Montreal's tough at home. They're 6-2 so far this year. For their thoughts on the football game, let's go to Montreal. Here's Gord Miller and Leif Pettersson.
Well, Darren, unless Matt Dunnigan bumps into a faith healer one of these days, Anthony Calvillo will be the quarterback the rest of the way for the Hamilton Ticats. And when you look at the numbers over the last 3 games, that's good news for the Ticats.
It really is. You know, it's funny. Anthony Calvillo is the kind of quarterback that can really get hot at the right time, and I think now is the right time. You see what he's done over the last 3 weeks and essentially throw out last week's game because it was in a driving rainstorm against Winnipeg, but he's had a 500-plus game, a 400-yard-plus game, and I think any defense is going to play against him right now, including Montreal tonight, has to be a little concerned because Anthony Calvillo likes to go downtown, likes to stretch out a defense. He's going to throw the ball 50 times a game, and if he gets hot at the right time, he's going to cause people some problems.
Now, you look at the Hamilton Ticats historically, they say tough defense, Hamilton, a team that grinds it out along the ground. Not so this year. This team has had a tough time defensively. Why don't the Ticats run the ball more?
Well, essentially, John Jenkins, their offense coordinator, feels the easiest way to the end zone is through the air. But you know what, Gord, I really think at this stage they have to run the ball a little bit. If nothing, to regain the sanity for their offensive line. I mean, these guys need to be a little more aggressive and go out and block. Talking to them before the game tonight, they want to get the running game going. And I mean, you don't have to run dead in the line to do it. You can do shovel passes, screen passes. You do all sorts of little things to try and slow down that pass rush, and they need it.
The Grey Cup, a month away yesterday. The Ticats might find it's easier to get there along the ground. Darren?
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Tracy Ham, 22 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. The last time these two teams met, the Hall of Fame game at Hamilton came out on top. Tonight, they do it all again.
The review.
From the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, it's week 17 of the CFL season as the Montreal Alouettes are home to the Hamilton Ticats. We know that these two teams will meet in the East Division semifinal in 2 weeks. That game could still be played at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton, but Don Sutherland's team would have to win tonight and then win next week. Hope that Montreal lost and the Ticats would get home field for the game against Bob Price's Montreal Alouettes. In his first year as a CFL head coach, Price has seen his team go 10-6, sort of the Grey Cup defending champion, kind of like the half-brothers, you might say, the Montreal Alouettes to the old Baltimore Stallions. Hamilton will receive the ball first. Terry Baker kicks it off, and we're underway at the Big O. This is Matt Cody from the 12-yard line for the Ticats. And Cody is tripped up as he gets up close to the 30-yard line. Alan Wetmore makes the stop. The starting lineups tonight are brought to you by Corel. Anthony Cavillo, the starting quarterback for Hamilton, the 24-year-old, is in his third CFL season. And last week he was 15 of 38 in the driving rain against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's got Earl Winfield and Vern Thornton outside. Jason Phillips, Matt Cody are the inside receivers. Ted Long is the so-called receiving back with Mike Saunders, the tailback. And the offensive line has one change of note. Dave Hack is in there in place of Roosevelt Patterson, who has a bad knee. Ticats start from their 29-yard line. Play action, they set it up there for Bert Thornton. And Thornton quickly has a first down and then some out to the 48-yard line. Leaf as close as Hamilton will come to a running play most times.
Wow, it's pretty interesting play action to begin this game. Just froze everybody, and Anthony Cavillo comes out slinging to Bert Thornton. Bert Thornton a week ago replaced Ted Long as their super back. He moves again out the wide receiver this week, and you know, a nice move to get by Anthony Drawhorn to begin this game. And you know, for any offense, you always like to start on a positive note, and Hamilton's able to do that early.
A pickup of 18 yards gives the Ticats a first down at their own 49-yard line. Hamilton completed only one pass to a wide receiver in the rain last week. Cavillo will look to run. He's got lots of room. Now Cavillo sees the hole close up quickly as jumping into the play was the corner man, Douglas Kraft.
And the defense that Anthony Cavillo will work against tonight has a terrific pass rush up front with Alfred Payton and Grant Carter. Super linebackers, Tracy Gravely. He was mentioned by our studio panel as one of their best players. He certainly is. And a secondary that has 9 DBs tonight, and they will use 7 and 8 to go against Hamilton's high potent passing offense tonight.
Paul Randolph anchors the middle of that defense for the Montreal Alouettes, the 8-year veteran who spent 7 years with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Second and long. Cavillo has time, throws it underneath for Jason Phillips. Phillips has a first down as he gets inside Montreal territory, pushed out of bounds at the 43-yard line of Montreal.
Took a pretty good shot from Irv Smith as he got near the sidelines, but again, good protection on second down for Cavillo. And when you get guys like Jason Phillips and Matt Cody, your two slot backs, running crossing patterns and defensive backs having to chase them all the way across the field, you're going to have a long night. Dave Ritchie, the defensive coordinator of Montreal, talked about using 7, 8, and maybe 9 defensive backs at certain times to try and slow this Hamilton passing attack down.
After a gain of 16, 6 DBs in there now for Montreal. And Cavillo again from the shotgun. Lots of time, has a wide open Jason Phillips on the sideline. And Phillips steps out of bounds at the Montreal 21-yard line. He was standing all by his lonesome.
Well, it so often happens in his own defense. You just keep collapsing downfield, and they just forgot about Jason Phillips. You see, everybody, Doug Kraft going to the deep third, and they just left Jason Phillips wide open. And to Anthony Cavillo's credit, he looks very sharp here in this opening drive. He picked him out, his second catch, and this is a pretty impressive way to begin the ballgame.
Gains of 18, 16, and now 22 yards, and the Ticats have it 1st and 10 from the Montreal 21-yard line. Look out, shovel pass underneath for Mike Saunders and the former Montreal Alouette inside the 10 and down to the 5. A well-executed play by the Hamilton Ticats. Their first designed run of the football game gets them another big gain, a pickup of 16.
That's a good-looking play, too, and Mike Saunders just kind of sits in there like he's going to block. Here's Mike Saunders, and then Miles Correll is going to end up with the block out here, but they kind of just look like they're going to block. Boop, a little shovel right there, and you know that's a pass. Looks like a pass, but that's a running play. That's exactly what we talked about at the beginning. That's how you slow down that pass rush and keep the other team off balance.
Cavillo remains in the shotgun on 1st and goal from the 5. Quick drop, throws it in the corner, and touchdown. Ted Long with the catch and run for the touchdown, and the Hamilton Ticats look very impressive on their opening drive. The touchdown throw from Anthony Cavillo is his 11th of the season. It's Ted Long's 4th touchdown catch of the year.
And Gord, I think play selection on that opening drive was absolutely flawless. They mixed it up. They went to their pick package down here in the goal line, create some confusion. Ted Long comes free, and that's a tough shoestring catch to make when you know you've got to turn your body quickly if you're going to get into the end zone. He did it perfectly, and boy, that's as pretty an opening. Is this the Toronto Argonauts we're seeing tonight on offense?
And that's no slouch defense they're working against. That's only the 19th passing touchdown the Montreal Alouettes have allowed this year. The Ticats and Ted Long make it look easy. They lead 7-0.
How else could 2 months' salary last?
Hamilton is up 7-0 on the Montreal Alouettes. Did you just compare the Hamilton Ticat offense to the Toronto Argonauts?
Well, I did, and you know why it reminded me? All the Toronto games I've done this year, Doug Flutie in every single one has come out and scored on his first possession and really set the tone of the game, and Hamilton was able to do that on their opening drive with Anthony Cavillo, and it really did remind me what I'd seen earlier in the season.
Short kickoff taken by Mike Pringle at the 20-yard line, and Pringle works his way ahead out close to the 40-yard line. Good field position for the Montreal Alouettes to start their first possession of the football game, and Anthony Cavillo engineers a scoring drive on the Ticats' first possession, taking them 80 yards in 3.5 minutes, and Ted Long caps it off with the 5-yard score. So the Montreal Alouettes trail quickly in this football game with 32-year-old Tracy Ham at the controls. Throughout his career, he has always thrown a lot more touchdowns than interceptions. This year, his ratio is 22 touchdown passes to 9 interceptions. 2 years ago with Baltimore, 30 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions.
That's the reason why they're plus 21 in that takeaway giveaway category that over the course of the season becomes so crucial.
The toss goes to Pringle, and last year's most valuable player out across the 50 up to the 52-yard line. The stop is made, but not before Mike Pringle has a first down. The safety man, Daryl Sampson, made the stop, but it's a 12-yard gain on Montreal's first offensive play. And Tracy Ham, as we mentioned in the opening, the league's top-rated passer. Now, the passing ratings get convoluted. It's a formula that involves about 8 different numbers, but take my word for it. Tracy Ham's playing well. The addition of Mike Pringle helps. Jock Climbing's over 1,000 yards. This offensive line can block very well for the run and protect the quarterback. Lots of time for Ham. Now Ham has all day to run, and he'll do it. Ham inside Hamilton territory and steps out of bounds at the Hamilton 35-yard line. The pickup is 23 yards for Tracy Ham.
But I'll tell you, this is a bad sign for the Hamilton defense when Tracy Ham decides early in the game that he wants to run, and he really did make a good decision here. As you're going to see him move to his left, everything was so open. I mean, he had no choice but to run because the closest Hamilton defender was at least 25 yards away. And, you know, all of a sudden, Tracy Ham in 2 plays is answering that opening Hamilton drive with a nice one of his own.
First down from the Ticat 35-yard line. The toss to Pringle. And Pringle puts his head down, gets 5 down to the 30-yard line. This should come as no surprise. Montreal, the best running team in the Canadian Football League, averaging better than 149 yards rushing a game.
Well, I think it's interesting. You know, you look a couple of games ago, Mike Pringle comes in. Those are his numbers from a week ago, but that translates to over 700 yards on the ground in the 7 games that he's played. Has an outside shot at maybe a 1,000-yard season. Boy, would that be an accomplishment coming back only halfway through.
He would play 9 games and have 1,000 yards. Possible. 2nd and 5 for Ham. Quick drop up the sideline, looking to the end zone. It is intercepted by Derek Greer. And now it is an interception for Derek Greer. He was working down there with Denny Montana, but Derek Greer has his 4th interception of the season, and the Ticats have snuffed out this Montreal drive.
Well, I tell you, you look at the Hamilton defense and who has been consistent this year. It's been Derek Greer and Don Robinson on the corners. Both players have played every single game, and watch the inside position that Derek Greer has on Montana. He locates the ball just at the right time. He's got his sights set on it, makes the key interception. I mean, that is textbook play as a corner. Now, Tracy Ham feels that maybe his guy had a shot at it, but I'll tell you what, Derek Greer, you can't play it any better than that.
Just the 10th interception Tracy Ham has thrown this year.
I guarantee you Les Brown is jumping up and down the studio right now because that was textbook corner play.
First down for the Ticats from their 25. Cavillo up and gunning, no surprise there. And the ball comes loose right back to Ted Long. And a huge break for the Hamilton Ticats as the pass was caught and then dropped by Earl Winfield, but right into the arms of his teammate.
Well, the old saying, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes, and this popped right back to Ted Long. But again, good time to throw. See Cavillo able to step up on that front foot, and he delivers a bullet. And Earl Winfield has had his helmet scrambled around the last few weeks with some shots, coughs it up, but they're lucky enough to retain it.
And it's 2nd and 2 for the Ticats from the 33 as they get the first early break. Montreal shows blitz. Here it comes, and the give goes off to Mike Saunders, and he's wrapped up by his former teammates. And jumping up there quickly was Juan Hammonds, first-year player out of Michigan State, number 93, and he fills that hole quickly as Saunders is stopped short.
And the old ugly head of the Hamilton Ticats reared again, because 2nd and 2, you know, you really think that that should be an easy pickup, but when they have to run the football, it just becomes a real challenge.
3rd and a yard, and Hamilton will gamble. So 3rd and a long yard for the Ticats, and a key gamble deep in their own territory. Saunders is the lone back. Cavillo goes straight ahead, and I don't think he got there. Doug Peterson got in very quickly for Montreal. This is going to be very, very close.
Well, they've signaled already that it's a first down. It sure looked like he didn't get much, but officials didn't hesitate.
Well, they'll mark it right on the stripe, and that's where he needed to get. It is a first down on the 2nd effort. Watch Doug Peterson.
Almost looked like the timing was a little off, but just a quick little jab step, and Anthony Cavillo did get enough. And
wow,
officials didn't hesitate, but that's a pretty big gamble when you're as poor a rushing team as Hamilton is to try and go for it deep in your own territory.
First down for the Ticats from their 35. The drive stays alive. Fake to Saunders, complete to Long on the other side. And Ted Long is off and running. No question, he's got the first down up to the Hamilton 51-yard line. And the Ticats have rarely looked better on offense this year. A gain of 16.
Well, essentially, you know, they're starting 6 receivers. You count Mike Saunders as a receiver. And when you get 6 and 5 people, you spread out a defense so much. I mean, it only takes one little move, and Ted Long, you know, gets some running space out there. I mean, Grant Carter initially had pretty good pass rush there, but Cavillo able to get the ball away in time. Now, Cavillo can't take too many shots like that, or he may not last this game, but nevertheless, this Hamilton offense is in high gear.
Much better conditions in their game a week ago against the Bombers. They'll take a dome any day. Cavillo to Bert Thornton. And Thornton has another first down into Montreal territory to the 46-yard line. He's collared by Anthony Drawhorn, but another Hamilton first down, a gain of 13.
Yeah, now Thornton gets the catch, and he gets all the yardage, but I'll tell you who makes the play coming from the left of your screen is number 2, Jason Phillips. See the block he makes? And that allows Thornton to get off and get some good running room. But when you run that quick screen, if you get that initial block at the point of attack, as Jason Phillips did, you got a chance for successful play. And you know, Phillips made 3 catches already in this quarter and a great block. He's off to a super start.
First down for the Ticats. Cavillo, quick drop, sets up the screen for Saunders, but the pass falls incomplete. and probably just as well, as he was wrapped up very quickly by Doug Peterson. Mike Saunders began the year with Montreal and came to Hamilton when Don Southern determined he wanted to improve his running game, because at one point this season the Ticats didn't have a true running back.
No, they didn't. And I mean, here's a guy that's gone over 1,000 yards rushing twice in his career. I mean, he can get the job done on the ground. I mean, you need the supporting cast around you to do it. Since he's come to Hamilton, he just averages about 3 yards a carry, and it's been tough for him.
Cavillo now looking up over the top for Winfield. He's got the catch, and oh, did he take a shot? Charles Gordon absolutely unloaded on Earl Winfield, who's got to wonder what he's doing to make everyone so mad at him. A 35-yard gain.
Yeah, and Earl's hurting, and he took a real shot. Anthony Drawhorn, as you mentioned, hit him a couple of weeks ago, and it knocked him out. It really hurt. But, I mean, this is a tremendous throw and tremendous courage, because you know you're going to get hit. And they go helmet to helmet, and Earl Winfield still gets up. Mike Saunders helping out his tackle. Dave Hack, you know, they get into it a little bit. Hey, former teammates, you know, you don't want to give any quarter to somebody out there, but we're talking about some contact by Charlie Gordon.
Leads the tied the league lead with 7 interceptions, and that time he blew up Earl Winfield. It's 1st and goal for the Ticats from the 5, and you got to hand it to Earl. 9 times out of 10, even when he takes the shot, he hangs on.
Well, you know, Earl's going to need a couple of plays to get his head sorted out there, though. I mean, I think that one shook him up.
He's going to need a couple of Tylenol, too. 1st and goal for the Ticats, up 7-0 already. The give goes to Saunders, and Saunders has the touchdown. Mike Saunders into the end zone, and just the 8th rushing touchdown of the season for the Ticats. Quickly, they lead 14-0, and the fans here in Montreal are booing.
Well, I'll tell you what, Anthony Cavillo's done a heck of a job keeping them off balance. He rolls and then back through there. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike Saunders, that's a good running play, and the chance for the offensive line to fire out and have some fun. I'll tell you what, back-to-back series. I mean, this team looks like right where they were back in the first few weeks of the season, where everybody said, hey, this team has a chance to go all the way to the Grey Cup, and boy, they look like real contenders right now.
Paul Osbaldiston with the point after. It is good. There is a flag down on the play. 4:45 to go in the opening quarter, and the Hamilton Ticats have a 13-0 lead with the point still pending.
You know, it seems so long ago. We'll hear the call here, but
illegal procedure. Hamilton, no end. Repeat conference.
And they'll do it again.
It seems so long ago. Derek Greer had the interception, so essentially, 7 points off the turnover. It seems like about a half hour ago that occurred, but you always love if your offense can take advantage. They had to go a long way to do it, but they took advantage of that turnover and converted it.
Worth making the point, you talked about the rain last week. Should Hamilton finish 3rd, they'd play in a dome here in the semifinal. Then if they won that, they'd play a dome in Toronto, and if they won that, they'd play at home. The playoff road, even if they finish 3rd, doesn't look so bad.
It's funny, you and I were talking about that this morning, and I said, things could be a lot worse for this team, Hamilton, to come back and play here in a playoff game in these perfect conditions.
Hey, things are looking pretty good for him right now. Cavillo has thrown for a touchdown. They've run for another. It's 14-0 Tabby. Winfield's 35-yard catch when he got drilled by Charlie Gordon is a key play in the Hamilton drive. They take advantage of the Derek Greer interception and have a 14-0 lead. Matt Cody, the leading receiver in the CFL in yards and touchdowns receiving, hasn't caught a ball yet. Here's Mike Pringle on the kickoff return, and Pringle gets out to the 28-yard line, and the stop is quickly made by the Hamilton Ticats. Well, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Earl Winfield took perhaps the hit of the year from Anthony Drawhorn playing against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You talk about a guy getting blown up. That is it. I mean, Earl went down and down hard. The irony of that play is that Earl is here tonight, and so is Anthony Drawhorn, picked up 2 weeks ago by Montreal. And I talked to Anthony before the game. He says, I think Earl knows I'll be looking for him again. You don't usually get a second shot at a guy. Anthony Drawhorn will. On first down, Tracy Ham on play action throws it to the feet of his intended receiver, Denny Montana. It'll be second down.
It's funny, Gord, we both talked to Earl Winfield about that tough hit he took a few weeks ago, and You know, Earl made it no secret at the beginning of the year. He said, this is my last season, I'm retiring. And some guys, you know, maybe have second thoughts. But Earl said tonight, if I ever had any second thoughts about retiring, they were all erased after that hit by Drawhorn. I think Charlie Gordon's hit probably reaffirmed that decision tonight.
Second and long for the Montreal Alouettes. Ham swings it out of the backfield for Pringle, and Pringle up and running has a first down. And Pringle still going, gets out to the 49-yard line. And Mike Pringle with the catch and run for 20 yards as a Montreal first down.
You know, since he's come back to the Montreal Alouettes, and this is now his 8th game, he's only caught 9 balls. This is his 10th catch, but that's really one of the intangibles that he gives this offense. He's a terrific receiver. They just don't use him that much. He averages almost 10 yards a carry. He makes people miss, as he did right there, and I mean, that's just another intangible quality that he gives.
Ham with time has it complete there to Chris Armstrong, and Armstrong, long a favorite of Tracy Ham's, is out of bounds at midfield, and Tracy Ham is slow to get up as he got rocked at the end of that play, and it appears his right arm, his throwing arm, is hurt. So Tracy Ham, who I think was injured the last time we did a Montreal game here in Montreal, is shaking up again.
Yeah, and there's Mike Philbrick right there, and he's going to make the contact at the end. Number 99, you'll see from the right, he keeps working, and he gets Ham from the blind side, and that's what initially shook him up. Now Ham's going to stay in the ball game, but he's limping around, and believe me, those shots take their toll.
Second and 4 for the Owls. They swing it out again for Pringle, and again he's got the first down, gets past Jason Ring, and out to the 41-yard line. Justin Ring had a shot at him, but Mike Pringle gets down to the 41-yard line, a pickup of 14 yards.
And you know who put all the pressure's put on the outside linebacker, Justin Ring, number 36. He's a heck of a young rookie from Simon Fraser, but follow him here. You'll lose him for a sec, but you'll see him get back. This is no match. He doesn't have the speed to stay with Pringle. In fact, he doesn't get a hand on it. But if Montreal keeps getting these matchups, they're gonna win those battles.
Toss to Pringle. There goes Mike Pringle. Inside the 30 and down to the 24-yard line. Mike Pringle is tearing up the Hamilton Ticats. And Montreal moved the ball well on its last drive until it threw the interception in the end zone. That's a pickup of 17 yards.
Well, all the offensive linemen just start reaching out, and they pick a man, and then Pringle finds his own hole. He takes it deep enough in the backfield that he has a lot of time to pick out where he wants to go with it. And when this big old offensive line gets on a roll and he hides in there behind him, he's a tough guy to find.
14 first downs for the two teams in this game so far.
Oh, it's been a heck of a first quarter.
Ham with the fake, has time, looks to the end zone, and down to the 1-yard line is Chris Armstrong. It'll be first and goal for the Montreal Alouettes as Armstrong very nearly got to the end zone.
And Gord, this is when Tracy Ham's at his best. The running game is going, so you go to play action. See how it froze Calvin Tiggle? Now you go right up and over him on the crossing pattern to Armstrong. It's a tough pattern to cover. Gary Rogers has to go a long way. It's almost impossible. But when you get no linebacker help on their drop because of play action, it's even tougher.
First and goal from the 1. Pringle tripped up right at the 1-yard line. And it looked like Keith Embry, number 96, got in there along with Gonzalo Floyd. And the Montreal running game gets tripped up on first and goal from the 1.
Well, Gonzalo Floyd just gets underneath the offensive lineman, and he gets into the backfield and is able to trip up Mike Pringle short of the goal line. You don't do that to Pringle too often.
Second and goal from the 1. And the Montreal Alouettes now have an injured, the Hamilton Ticats rather, have an injured player. Tom Gerhardt, the outside linebacker, is down. And with 35 seconds to play in the first quarter, Hamilton has scored twice. Montreal is threatening. 14-0. The Ticats lead the Owls.
Valvoline's family of products protects your car in tough.
Tom Gerhardt is the injured Hamilton Ticat as they check his right knee. We can look back at that play that Calvin Tiggle made to stop Mike Pringle.
Wow, they got penetration, but it's really Tiggle. Watch him come up into the hole and meet Pringle. And as I said previously, this does not happen to Mike Pringle too often, but that is textbook again. This has been a heck of a first quarter. There's only 35 seconds to go. Each team's only had the ball twice.
No punts yet in the first quarter of this football game. Hamilton threatening for most of the quarter, but now is 2nd and goal from the 1. Ham on 2nd and goal gives it to Pringle. Touchdown! Mike Pringle into the end zone, and Montreal is on the board on Mike Pringle's 4th touchdown in 8 games along the ground. The MVP of a year ago hits the end zone, and Montreal hits the scoreboard.
And you know what? It's the scheme that's really good. They have 3 receivers to the left, so you're going to get back to the short side. You only really have to block one guy hard, and Michael Souls does that, leading the way for Pringle, but the scheme allows you to come back to the weak side where you don't have that many people to block and you're not outnumbered.
Gary Baker puts the point after up and good. 7 seconds to play in the first quarter. And Mike Pringle has Montreal on the board trailing 14-7. That's his 6th touchdown overall in 8 games for Montreal since coming back to the Canadian Football League. So Montreal moves the ball neatly on its 2nd possession and gets within 7. And I know coaches who love defense like Bob Obilovich back in the studio are cringing here.
Well, yeah, but you know, you go back to this play now, you got 3 receivers off on this side, and that creates only one guy really that you have to take care of, and Michael Souls will kick out. And you know, that's why you set your receivers to one side, and now it's a little easier. You only got to make one really key block on the outside. And you know, Tagle came over late and got the good hit, but essentially there was no way that they were going to be able to stop Mike Pringle, and it's all the formation. The formation creates those matchups, and you know, it looked simple, it looked easy, but the formation did a lot of the work.
You see Tracy Ham getting attention on the bench, shaken up on that drive. Mike Philbrook landed on him, and his right shoulder was shaken up, but Ham appears to be all right. So now, maybe last possession wins. Ted Long takes the kickoff from his 10-yard line. And Ted Long gets out to the 30 before he's finally tripped up on the play. Stephon Reed makes the stop, a 65-yard kickoff, and a return of 20. So the only drive that hasn't resulted in points resulted in an interception by the Hamilton Ticats. That time, Montreal takes 7 plays, 81 yards, and Mike Pringle caps it off with his 4th rushing touchdown of the year as Stephon Reed makes his check the hard way, Leaf, covering kicks.
Yeah, it's not a lot of fun, but I mean, you have to do it when you're a young Canadian trying to make your mark in this league, but he did a nice job there, ran over somebody, made the tackle. He's going to get some playing time tonight as well on defense.
First down for the Ticats, should be the final play of the first quarter. Bert Thornton makes the catch at the sidelines at the 51-yard line. How did Bert Thornton ever make that grab? A sensational offensive play for a 21-yard gain. That is a fitting way to end the opening 15 minutes. Hamilton leads at 14-7. There's a flag down on the play, so now they're going to talk it over here for a moment. Bud Steen is the referee tonight. And they may be preparing to tack this on to the end of this play, which would make it even better for the Hamilton Ticats. So the quarter is over. Hamilton leads it by a score of 14-7. Back with more, but right now, let's send you back to our CFL Live Control Center.
CFL Live at the Quarter, brought to you by Subway, the place where fresh is the taste.
I'm telling you, it's only fitting that we end with a sensational play as we wrap the first quarter, because this is arguably the best quarter we've seen all year. If you like offense, they've been going back and forth, and Hamilton looks good. Obi, we know you want to get in there and give your defensive plug. Go ahead.
No, I think Hamilton, they kept Montreal out of the end zone on that first drive, and Derek Greer made the interception on that ball that Tracy threw, but they really haven't stopped the Montreal offense, and the Montreal defense hasn't stopped Hamilton's offense. So as Marty said prior to the game, maybe this is going to be a high-scoring game tonight.
And how about Hamilton running into the end zone for the touchdown? We've talked about their lack of a ground game, but Montreal is susceptible in the red zone when it comes to the run. They've been up 18 touchdowns on the ground. What about Hamilton's defense, though, Les? I know you were saying, why isn't Joe Montford in there instead of Justin Ring? Because Pringle's been going at Ring and having a great deal of success.
And plus, Joe Montford can run with running backs. He's a very good linebacker at getting over there and making good tackles. He was leading the team in tackles when Calvin Tiggle went down. Now, Joe Mufford they made room for him by getting Roosevelt Patterson out there and giving him a rest because he has a shoulder injury, but he is not playing, and I can't understand why a good linebacker like this, who led the team in tackles, is sitting on the bench right now.
Well,
I would agree with that, Les.
Anthony Cavillo looks all-world. We thought it was going to be Matt Dunnigan leading this Hamilton attack, and Gordon Leaf had mentioned his name as well, Marty.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Darren, I spoke to Matt yesterday. He sounded very much like a guy whose career is over. He said he's seeing spots still. He said he'll be chasing these spots forever. But the way Calvillo's playing, they're fine.
Yeah, boy, are they ever fine. They racked up 14 points. Let's return to Montreal.
Second quarter underway, Darren, and Cavillo's up and throwing. There's a big surprise. Complete to Earl Winfield, and Winfield close to a first down into Montreal territory at the 49. By the way, no infraction on that final play of the opening quarter. And what a play it was. Bert Thornton makes the catch right in front of the Hamilton bench, and it was a first quarter filled with brilliant offense, and this is even more of it, Lee.
Well, it's, you know, he knows where the football is, and he's got great body control to adjust to it, make a one-hander. I mean, it's a spectacular catch, but I mean, it just shows you what terrific body control he has.
Winfield just a half yard short of the first down. Early movement as they give it off to Saunders. Flags all over the place as Saunders is dropped quickly by Alfred Payton, who comes up to make the tackle, but I think Montreal jumped. So that'll be a first down the easy way for the Ticats. And the indication is it is against the Owls. And it was Alfred Payton, the man. Not surprisingly. Well, the numbers through the opening quarter are pretty impressive. 18 first downs between the two teams. Hamilton's 2 touchdown drives were 80 and 85 yards, and the two teams rack up 300 yards in total offense in the first 15 minutes.
You know, Gord, I don't recall doing a game this year where we didn't have a punt in the first quarter. And you mentioned it in the first quarter that we hadn't had one yet and didn't have one. So really tells you at what a level both offenses are functioning.
From the 44, Cavillo just avoids the rush, gets it off for Ted Long, and Long close to another first down to the 34-yard line. Anthony Cavillo just got that football away, but Ted Long, the receiving back, makes another catch.
You know, we're as guilty as anyone at saying Hamilton should run the football, but I think when you look at this graphic, they would probably say, well, why should we? When we try and run and we throw under 35 passes, we haven't won a ball game, but when we fill the air with footballs all night long, we're 8-4, so I guess maybe John Jenkins has a point here.
The amazing number on the Hamilton Ticats, the best rushing game they've had by a player this year. Anthony Cavillo had 77 yards rushing in the game. That's the best for a Ticat. How about a guy, though, who runs like that and who's 12 for 13 passing in this game?
Well, he's well on his way. Let's multiply that by 4, and you're at 52 passes for the game, you know, 4 quarters. And so they won't have to worry about that graphic of being under 35. But that's pretty interesting numbers there.
No 100-yard rusher for the Hamilton Ticats this year.
And there won't be.
Not unless something amazing happens. 2nd and inches for the Ticats. Cavillo on the fake. Lots of time, delivers it over the middle, and it's incomplete. He was looking there for Jason Phillips. Anthony Drawhorn was there on the coverage for the Montreal Alouettes. Only the 2nd incompletion thrown by Anthony Cavillo. Michael Whelan's with us. He's got a report on Tom Gerhardt. Michael?
Yeah, Tom Gerhardt sprained the upper tibia of his right leg. Right now, they've got him iced down. They think that he might be back in the game, but it doesn't look very good. They're going to rest him for a while. Don't expect him for, for at least a quarter.
All right, thanks very much, Michael, down there working the sidelines for us tonight. An incompletion for the Hamilton Ticats brings up 3rd and inches for Hamilton. Cavillo gives it off to Mike Saunders, and Saunders has the first down easily. So a nice gamble for Hamilton. I know a play you like on 2nd and inches. Take a shot.
Well, I really do. Maybe not so much with Hamilton, who's had such great difficulty running the football, but 2nd and short in this league, I believe you're almost wasting a play not taking a shot at it. I think Don Southern, although he's a defensive guru, would agree with that offensive philosophy.
Made the comment earlier this year about Hamilton, a team that likes to get off to fast starts. Look at this. By far their best quarter of the season. They've scored almost half their points this year in the 2nd quarter. Cavillo from the shotgun. Lots of time has Winfield, who makes the catch inside the 20. There's a flag down at the 33-yard line. Winfield working on Harold Nash as once again Montreal has gone to 7 defensive backs to pick up a 15 yards, but it's coming back.
And I think that with all the motion they're using tonight, that one of the receivers just got ahead of the
procedure. Hamilton, number 10.
Matt Cody is the player called for illegal procedure. It'll nullify the 15-yard pickup by Winfield and send the Ticats back to the Montreal 38-yard line.
You know, if you're Dave Ritchie, the defensive coordinator of Montreal, it is a pretty scary thought to have essentially these 6 receivers all in motion coming towards the line of scrimmage at once, spread out across the entire width of the field. I mean, this is a tough offense to cover, which means you got to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they haven't got a sack yet.
Early movement. Cavillo gets it away for Long. Long has got a long way to go and is tripped up at the 30-yard line. A pickup of 7 yards, but it leaves the Ticats well short of where they need to be. It'll be 2nd and 8.
Gordon, one of the matchups that I thought would be very interesting tonight would be to see how Miles Gurrell, who's getting the start tonight in place of the injured Roosevelt Patterson, how he would handle Alfred Payton and Grant Carter. And so far in this first half, I've been keeping an eye on him. He's done a pretty good job, but neither one of those players have had a little bit of pressure, but they really haven't gotten to Cavillo yet.
7 defensive backs in for Montreal on 2nd and 8. Cavillo from the shotgun. Gets it away over the middle. He's got Matt Cody. And Cody has a first down to the Montreal 10-yard line, and now 6 different players have caught passes for Hamilton. It's a 21-yard pickup.
You talk about spreading it out, and it took a while to get Matt Cody involved in this game, the league's leading receiver in yardage and touchdowns, but Harold Nash tries to stay with him. I mean, it's just an impossible task. We saw Gary Lewis with Chris Armstrong on the other side of the ball, and I mean, it's impossible to cover guys like this who have that much speed across the middle.
Matt Cody has 6 100-yard games this year, including 5 in a row, a team record, breaking the old mark set by Tony Champion. From the 10-yard line, they give it off to Mike Saunders, and Saunders gets his way down to the 3-yard line. Alfred Payton in to make the stop along with Tracy Gravely, but Hamilton might have crossed him up a bit there with the draw play.
And you have to love, again, the play selection. I mean, they've thrown the ball all the way down the field to get to this point, and then they change up by handing off to Mike Saunders, and they get good results with it. And well, when you've got a good pass rushing team, as Montreal does, you've got to keep them off balance, and I feel like Hamilton has done that as well as they could do so far in this game.
Now from the 3, Cavillo in the shotgun. Cavillo. They try to run, and he's got a ways to go, and he's wrapped up by Alfred Payton. And Payton quickly snuffs out Anthony Cavillo, who thought he had enough room to run, but it closed quickly. No gain. Now 3rd down from the 3.
Well, Payton working on Miles Gurrell to the outside there. Actually sloughs off his man. You know, you can't fault Gurrell on that play. He did a pretty good job, but Payton just back to the inside. When you go 3-step drop on the goal line and nobody's open quickly, as a quarterback, you're in trouble fast, and Cavillo can never recover.
Well, Don Southern's gambled a couple times in this game, but 3rd and 3 is a bit rich for his blood, and so Paulus Balliston will come out. 84.6% this year. Inside the 30, he's 19 of 19, and this try is even shorter than a convert. Just a 10-yard field goal attempt for Osbaldiston. Kerrigan gets it down, and Osbaldiston puts it through. The Hamilton Ticats have scored points on each of their 3 possessions. They now lead Montreal 17-7. Osbaldiston's field goal caps off a drive in which Hamilton held the ball for 5 minutes and 58 seconds. Hamilton leads it 17-7. And Osbaldiston will kick it back to Montreal. Mike Pringle is back deep, along with Dexter Dawson. This is Mike Pringle from the 10. Dropped the football, and still can't find the handle. And Pringle is gang tackled down there at the 12-yard line. A 65-yard kickoff, a return of just 3. Lee Knight got down to help make the stop, but they might have to sew a handle on that ball. So
one of the few mistakes we've seen in this game tonight from a physical nature.
Probably the first mistake we've seen in this game, and it puts the Montreal Alouettes in a bit of a hole. They'll start at their own 14-yard line. Tracy Ham appears to be all right as he returns to the Montreal quarterbacking position.
Well as they've moved the ball, yeah, you see the numbers, time of possession. That may catch up in a hurry here on this possession, though, because they have a long enough field to work on.
They might run out the quarter. 8:45 to play in the second. Ham on play action swings it on the backfield for the fullback Michael Souls. Joe Montford wraps him up quickly as Souls gets up to the 15-yard line. And we mentioned earlier that Montreal hasn't had the ball that much, and time to introduce their defense.
Yeah, well, only change up front from a week ago. Keith Embry plays for the injured Jesse Small with a knee problem, and linebacking core, as you've seen already tonight, is going to get a workout with Mike Pringle catching and running, and Derek Greer already with the pick tonight, and Daryl Sampson gets to start ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber in the middle. Rod Hitchcock out with a knee injury.
Game was won at 2nd and 9. Ham zips it over the middle, has Chris Armstrong for a pickup of 15 yards and a first down up to the 30-yard line. Well, if Ham's arm is bothering him, he didn't show it there.
Well, Chris Armstrong now with 845 yards on the season, the 53rd catch now, actually 54th catch. He's got a chance to hit 1,000 yards with a game and a half remaining now.
Well, the offense that we're seeing in this football game is absolutely astounding.
Well, you know, I want to touch on Chris Armstrong. It'd be nice if he hit 1,000. Jock Climby already has.
The toss to Mike Pringle on first down, and Pringle eludes the initial hit from Gonzalo Floyd and picks up 5 up to the 35-yard line.
Well, you look at the structure of this offense, and it's really almost like a triangle between the slot backs and then working back Tracy Ham and Mike Pringle. You know, probably Armstrong, let's say he gets 1,000. Jock Climby gets 1,000. The two wide receivers have essentially got nothing, and Mike Pringle and Michael Souls are a factor, so it's kind of like a whole triangle offense that they run.
Marking is a gain of 4 at 2nd and 6 for Ham, and that pass is tipped at the line of scrimmage, and Gonzalo Floyd got his hand on it. And as a result, we'll see a punter for the first time in the football game.
And you know what? Gonzalo Floyd did this a couple of times a week ago against Winnipeg. Here he is in his pass rush, and you know, he's not going to get the sack. He's not really going to get the pressure, but he does the smart thing. He gets his left hand up, and he deflects that football. That would have been an easy catch out in the flat. So it's the little things that sometimes they don't show up in the box score, but those are the little intangibles that help you win football games.
Terry Baker to punt. The top 2 punters in the league in this game, they haven't been used yet. This is Baker's first. Taken by Earl Winfield from the 39. And Winfield just puts his head down and runs out to the 47. The Hamilton Ticats have a 10-point lead, and they have the football. You're watching the CFL live from Montreal. Ray Bernard and the Ottawa Rough Riders take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We've got it for you on TSN at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Pacific. A change in start time for that game. Winnipeg and Ottawa, and here Mike Campbell and the Hamilton Ticats enjoying a 17-7 lead on the Montreal Alouettes, and dare we say that Hamilton's getting hot at just the right time of year.
Well, I think you have every right to say that. We talked about that in the opening. If Anthony Cavillo gets on a roll, which he can, and this is a team that, if they can play some defense, is going to be awfully tough.
Cavillo appears to be changing the play at the line of scrimmage. First down for the Ticats from their 47-yard line. Lots of time for Cavillo. And it's intercepted. Picked off by Harold Nash. And Nash is off and running. Still going. Harold Nash finally wrapped up at the 30-yard line by Mike Saunders, but a big turnover for the Montreal Alouettes and a 33-yard interception return of Hamilton's first turnover.
Well, sometimes when you're on a roll as a quarterback, you think you can thread the needle every single time, and this time Cavillo just couldn't. I mean, there's 4 Alouettes there, And really, Matt Cody wasn't even in the picture, and Harold Nash comes up with the interception, his second. Nickel defense pays off for Montreal, but really a ball that should not have been thrown by Cavillo. I mean, there was no way he was going to get that one in there.
Harold Nash with his second interception of the year sets Montreal up at the Hamilton 30, and Ham wants a bunch. And Ham gets down to the 25-yard line. Fortunate to do so, Calvin Tiggle wrapped him up as Tracy Ham made something out of nothing. Hamilton had an interception earlier and scored a touchdown off that turnover. Now Montreal tries to return the favor.
Calvin Tiggle, who came back last week after missing so many weeks, had a pretty enthusiastic effort, I thought, and he will definitely be a leader on this team as he takes them into the playoffs. And so impressed with his speed from tackle to tackle.
2nd and 5 for the Alouettes. And lots of time. Can't find an open man. And Ham will run. Gets the first down as he gets to the 19-yard line, and leaving a trail of Ticats in his wake. Ham has a first down.
Well, initially the Ticats did a good job of keeping Tracy Ham in the pocket. You know, they do force him to step up, but when he steps up, he's also able to step to the outside, and this is a pretty good effort to pick up the first down. Only second time tonight that he has run with the football. I'll tell you, you know, you talk about intangibles. We've mentioned that a lot tonight. His running ability, I mean, he doesn't do it a lot anymore, but he certainly does it at the right times.
Back to the ground to Pringle. And Pringle makes a whole bunch out of not much. Takes a couple of guys for a ride there. Joe Montford and Mike Philbrick make the stop, but how he ever got 7 yards out of that, I'll never know.
Well, initially Calvin Tiggle had him almost at the line of scrimmage, and somehow he just made a miss. And you know, a lot of people wondered, like, why wouldn't Mike Pringle stick with the Denver Broncos? He's a terrific running back, but you know, he's only 5'8" and 186 pounds listed initially. And that's just kind of too small for a guy who doesn't have blinding speed. Now, he's a great runner, but he's not a guy that's going to run away from a lot of defensive backs either.
This field was tailor-made for him, though. 2nd and 3. They toss it to Pringle. Gets around the corner. Pringle, touchdown! Mike Pringle, his second touchdown of the game. And Montreal is right back in it. So both teams have taken advantage of turnovers, scoring touchdowns off interception.
Well, as they so often do, Montreal has the ability to just wear you down on defense with that running game, and well, they did it on that drive. Pringle with some good hard running and gets the second touchdown of the night.
Terry Baker puts the point after up and through. 3:16 to go in the first half, and both teams are putting on an offensive show. Hamilton with a 3-point lead on the surging Alouettes. Mike Pringle has his 5th rushing touchdown of the year thanks to a great lead block from his friend and fullback, Michael Soles.
Boy, did he ever get a good block from Michael Soles, and he also got a good block from Mark Dixon. I mean, here's Embry out here. Look how far he goes, and then watch Michael Soles come out. Here comes Greg Eaglin, and follow this. I mean, Mike Pringle does a nice job to get into the end zone, but he sure got a lot of help from some key people at the point of attack. And for Mark Dixon, that is a heck of an effort. And for Michael Soles, well, we've just come to expect those kinds of blocks from him.
No coincidence that the Edmonton Eskimos had the league's best rushing attack for years, with Michael Soles leading the way for people like Reggie Taylor. And then, of course, his quarterbacks were good runners, too, Damon Allen and Tracy Ham. The kickoff is taken by Matt Cody at the goal line. And Cody stumbles ahead to the 14-yard line. That's where Hamilton will start. So Mike Pringle in 8 games has now scored 7 touchdowns. This one comes after the interception by Harold Nash and the return, so just a 30-yard drive. And Montreal trails by 3, just 3:12 to play. in the first half that has flown by.
Now, Mark Dixon, there he is, 64 in the middle of your screen, and he should be pretty proud of himself.
The middle, the left, and the right of your screen.
Yes. He moved about 2 to 3 yards to the outside to try and hook and create contact with Keith Embry, and that is a tough thing to do to a slippery defensive end, and he did it exceptionally well.
Cavillo will start from the shotgun. First down Ticats from their 14. Cavillo, shovel pass for Saunders. And look at Mike Saunders go up to the 25-yard line. Two great backs here. And Saunders close to another first down. A pickup of 11. It will be a first down for the Hamilton Ticats with 2:47 to play in the opening half. And look at the first 4 possessions for the Ticats. 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and an interception. Paulus Baldwin has yet to punt the game. Hamilton has been great offensively, but enjoys just a 3-point lead as we've hit the 3-minute warning. Back with more from the Olympic Stadium in Montreal when the CFL Live returns after this. It's the only tournament we know Tiger Woods won't win this year, the Senior PGA Kattapali Classic, and when Tiger Woods hits the Senior Tour, he might dominate that as well. It comes your way 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific here on TSN.
Yeah, I've noted this tournament, Hale Irwin and Jim Colbert are really fighting it out for the leading money winner title on the Senior Tour this year. This tournament may in fact decide that.
Hale Irwin loves Hawaii, played football there, right? He's an All-American running back there at the University.
He was 5 under at one point when I saw him, and Colbert was struggling.
First down for Cavillo, picked up by Harold Nash, and this will be a touchdown. Harold Nash takes it the other way, his second interception of the game, and Montreal leads. A 33-yard interception return for a touchdown for Harold Nash. Wow. Well, look at it this way, Hamilton still hasn't punted.
Well, they haven't punted, but I mean, these are back-to-back throws that Cavillo shouldn't make. He just had the tunnel vision where he never saw Harold Nash step in front of Earl Winfield, and you know, you wonder how he could go 12 of 13 and throw back-to-back bad balls as he did. Here's Nash here. Winfield's hooking, and he just slips right through here, and it's just as if for some explained reason, I've circled the wrong guy. Nash comes in front there. But for some unexplained reason, the quarterback just didn't see him.
Second consecutive week that the Montreal Alouettes have returned an interception for a touchdown. Last week, Anthony Drawhorn did it to blow the game open against Ottawa, and Harold Nash has done it here as well. The Montreal Alouettes have a 21-17 lead in the football game. 3 interceptions in this game. They've all led to touchdowns. Well, that one led directly to a touchdown.
You know what I often think that happens, Gordon? I want to go back and have another look at this play. You know, all week you practice against the secondary and what they're going to do. And, you know, maybe they haven't seen a heck of a lot of nickel and actually 7 defensive backs from Montreal. And we'll let it go here. And, you know, I think Cavillo just didn't get his read properly with that extra defensive back in there. I mean, Nash is way inside here. And, you know, Cavillo, look, he's looking out this way. He doesn't even see anything in here. So when Nash finally does come across and make the play, let it go. It goes against all the reads that he's looked at this week with the extra defensive back in there. And I think it's just confused him now for 2 series in a row. And, you know, you always look at adjustments that teams make. And Dave Ritchie's team has made the big adjustment, back-to-back interception with all 14 points.
You know that Les Brown in the studio is laughing about that. Harold Nash left his guy before the ball was thrown. If Cavillo brings that ball back down, Matt Cody was wide open over the middle, but Nash knew where the quarterback was looking and went right to it.
Well, that's the luxury you have when you got tremendous speed like Harold Nash does. You can look into the backfield and read the quarterback's eyes and break off it. Most of the leading interceptors in the league are able to do that. He's done it twice.
Terry Baker kicks it off deep. The Ticats will get the ball right back. Ted Long from the 6-yard line. And Long vaults his way ahead to the 25. The worst thing about throwing an interception for a touchdown, you got to come right back on the field, and that's what Cavillo will do as he talks to John Jenkins, the Hamilton offensive coordinator. There's a flag down. It was a 19-yard kickoff return for Ted Long.
Wow, you know,
the Ticats, sorry, they'll be backed up again.
And interesting to know, Cavillo and John Jenkins, you know, having that quick chat, and We'll let the call be made here before I want to finish this point.
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton 27.
Donovan Wright is called for the face mask, and as a result, the Ticaps are going to be backed up just like they were on that last possession. 2:26 to play here. They might want to be careful. They once led 14-0, but if they don't watch their P's and Q's here, they can be down 11 at the half.
Well, I think what Cavillo's got to do right away, and his numbers are still very impressive, he's got to determine when Nash is in the ball game, and he's in the ball game again. And when you're going to have extra coverage downfield, that means you're a little vulnerable underneath. So I think Hamilton's got to shorten down their passing game a little bit and see if they can get Montreal out of the nickel.
Cavillo back on the shotgun, and they give it on the draw play to Mike Saunders, and not a whole bunch doing there as he's wrapped up quickly by middle linebacker Paul Randolph.
See, I guess the other side of the coin, too, is, Gord, for Montreal, they don't care about Hamilton's running game. They have no fear of that running game, so you just load up that secondary to hope that you can defend in the fashion that they were able to do so, and you just say, hey, if you want to try and run at us, go ahead. You know, that's pretty good philosophy. Dave Ritchie's no fool back there. He's got a good game plan.
Montreal now with 2 interceptions this game has 28 on the year, taking over the lead from the Calgary Stampeders, who play Edmonton on Sunday. Second down, here comes the rush. Cavillo gets to Matt Cody, and Cody should have a first down, although he worked his way back to the marker. He's up to the 25-yard line, and it will move the sticks for Hamilton. A big first down with 1:58 to go.
One thing about this Montreal secondary right now, and I mean, you wouldn't have thought it early in the game as Hamilton was so efficient, but you know what you're going to have to do if you're a quarterback, you're going to have some seams, but since you've got more defensive backs out there than the normal amount, you're going to have to get the ball into those seams a little quicker because Montreal has a lot of speed on defense out there right now.
Cavillo remains in the shotgun. Lots of time up the sideline. Jason Phillips makes the catch and steps out of bounds at the 41-yard line. A pickup of 16 yards for Jason Phillips, with 128 yards receiving 2 weeks ago against Saskatchewan.
And I like the adjustment that Cavillo's made on this drive. One of the ways to combat a nickel defense, usually they're protecting and doubling inside. Guys like Jason Phillips and Matt Cody. And one of the ways you beat it is to throw underneath it, or you go to the outside. And they did a good job getting the ball out to the sidelines. And usually you'll still only get one-on-one coverage out there.
Now 6 defensive backs in the game for Montreal. Saunders, big hole. And Saunders gets out to the 51-yard line. He'll be about a yard short of a Hamilton first down with 1:28 to play in the first half. And Blaine Schmidt, the veteran of 10 seasons, gets the job done.
Well, check this block out on the trap here, and this is a good change-up by Hamilton. Watch this block coming around the corner. That is a beauty, and opens up a good lane for Mike Saunders. So looks like Hamilton's got over the shock of those interceptions and settled back down again as we close out the second quarter.
On second and short, they're throwing, and it's almost intercepted again. Charles Gordon had it in his hands, and that would have given him the league lead with his 8th interception, and it would have been the 3rd interception of the half for Cavillo. And Cavillo's talking it over with Jason Phillips.
You wonder why coaches get gray hair. I mean, here's Cavillo, 12 of 13, everything rolling along, and all of a sudden he has just had a couple of brain cramps here because the interception to Nash, the first one was a bad one, and now Charlie Gordon should have had his 8th interception, so he would have tied his career high. Has 7 currently. Cavillo has gone from red hot to ice cold.
Now 3rd and a yard. And all kinds of early movement there. And this may be procedure against the Ticats. It is. They'll be forced to punt. Costly penalty for the Hamilton Ticats. Jude St. John, the left guard, is called for illegal procedure, backed up a little too soon. Hamilton will have to kick the ball away with 1:05 to play.
I don't think there's any question. You get a good look here, and doing the crab walk out there initially was Jude St. John. And, you know, he gets called. That's a tough penalty to take.
And look out, Don Southern has just grabbed him by the jersey. And Don Southern likes to say that he has father-to-son talks with his players. And father always wins. Dexter Dawson is back to receive the punt from Paulus Baldiston. Low driving kick. It's just Baldiston's first punt of the game, and it's a good one. Dawson back to the 5. It's returnable. And here comes Dexter Dawson. Finally, he stumbles down at the 30-yard line. The tackle was made on the play by Justin Ring, a 57-yard punt by Osbaldiston, the league's leading punter, and a 23-yard return by Dexter Dawson. Tracy Ham and the Montreal offense get the ball back with 50 seconds to play.
Well, that was a case of the old adage, out kicking your coverage, because Hamilton really struggled to get down there, and Justin Ring actually makes a good play. Could totally wrap up, but it was enough.
Well, now the Alouettes have it at their 30 with time on the clock and a 4-point lead.
Keep in mind, 21-17 Montreal. It was 14-0 for Hamilton at one point, and everything going their own way.
This is Mike Pringle. And Pringle just dives straight ahead. And Joe Montfort gets in to make the stop for the Hamilton Ticats, along with Mike Campbell. This is a very big Hamilton front four. The linemen are 6'4", 6'5", 6'4", and 6'2", and the linebackers average 6'2". So it looks like Montreal might be content just to run out the clock here in the opening half and take that lead, as they're in no hurry to get plays off here. It's 2nd and 6. And lots of time. Has a man open. It's Chris Armstrong, and Armstrong with 23 seconds left gets up to the 47-yard line.
And to me, Gord, this defies all logic on offense. If you're going to just kill a lot of time off the clock to snap the ball, and yet you still throw it. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I'm not sure exactly what Bob Price's thinking is, and maybe it's not his thinking, but I mean, if you're going to throw it, you might as well go to the hurry-up.
Pick up a 13, and Montreal is now in the hurry-up offense. And lots of time, can't find anyone open. Still can't find anyone. And finally, looking up the top, and it's incomplete for Nigel Williams. And by the time things were said and done, he was double covered by Derek Greer and Gary Lewis. 5 seconds left as the pass falls incomplete.
Yeah, normally that's a pretty high percentage throw when you've got a receiver who's 6'4" like Nigel Williams, but keep in mind, Derek Greer is also 6 feet tall himself and a pretty good jumper. So that's not maybe the favorable matchup on the alley-oop pass that you might normally think.
Nigel Williams, 32 catches coming into this game for the Montreal Alouettes, a product of the Hamilton Hurricanes junior program, and a player that Montreal believes will play a major part in their offense in the future. And one of the few teams in the Canadian Football League that even comes close to running the ball as much as they throw it, the Montreal Alouettes. 5 seconds to play in the first half. They'll just toss it to Mike Pringle. And Pringle gets around the corner and steps out of bounds on the final play, or is it? No. Now they've hit him out of bounds, and this is going to be an unnecessary roughness penalty on Calvin Tiggle, and it's going to give the Montreal Alouettes a chance to put points on the board.
Yeah, they're going to end up with a field goal in the low 40s attempt, and this is pretty costly. And you know, Pringle was well out of bounds when Tiggle hit him, and very justified for the officials to throw that flag. And
well, a 16-yard gain lead for Pringle. Tack on the penalty, and all of a sudden the Montreal Alouettes can kick a field goal.
Yeah, and you look at what's happened in the last couple of minutes. Hamilton's really unraveled with silly penalties. Jude St. John's illegal procedure forced Hamilton to punt, and now a roughing penalty is going to give Terry Baker a shot.
Unnecessary roughness, Hamilton.
Well, it's got to be against Tiggle. Terry Baker will try a 39-yard field goal on the play after the final play of the first half.
Well, I think you'll see, I mean, you know, that, and he didn't drill him or anything, but I mean, you can't touch him. He's on the stripe and you make contact. That's ridiculous. Calvin Tiggle's not a dirty player by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, that's just kind of a discipline thing.
Paulus Baldiston is on the field for Hamilton in the end zone. In case the field goal is missed, he'll kick it out. So there's Ozzie in the base of the end zone. We saw this play 2 weeks ago in a BC Edmonton game where the kickout came into play. Terry Baker will try it from 39 yards out to make it a 7-point Montreal lead.
So here you see the alignment. You got Osbaldiston and Lee Knight, and 4 people essentially back there for Hamilton in case Baker misses.
But he doesn't. Hamilton gives Montreal 3 free ones. as an infuriated Don Southern goes to the Hamilton dressing room. An entertaining first half of play. Montreal with the lead by 7. So Terry Baker with, well, a free one for the Montreal Alouettes. And he punches through the field goal as the Montreal Alouettes steal 3 from Hamilton. And Don Southern's team is down by a touchdown. Stand by now for our CFL Live halftime show.
CFL Live at the half. Brought to you by Corel, world leader in CD-ROM technology.
There is no question that Calvin Tiggle is an enthusiastic football player, and he brings a lot to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but he has to temper that enthusiasm. That's an extra 3 for the Montreal Alouettes, Les.
At a time where they really didn't need it. I had mentioned that Hamilton had to play 60 minutes, but they had to play 60 smart minutes of football, which hasn't happened right now. Anthony Cavillio came out. He was 12 or 13 at the end of the first quarter. Maybe he thought he was playing too good and started throwing the ball where he shouldn't have. Now he has 2 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown. And that's really hurting them.
You know what? You make a very good point, Les. You say that Hamilton has to play smart football. When you take a look at the plus-minus or the giveaway-takeaway ratio in the CFL, they're the worst. On the other hand, you've got Montreal, who's exceptional, and they're taking advantage of that with the 2 interceptions and the 1 for the TD. And, you know, the one thing that's bothered Hamilton all season has been inconsistency on defense. Their defense has not played near as well as their offense all season, and until they get that kind of play by their defense, I don't see how Hamilton's going to beat good football teams.
And here's the bad news for Hamilton. Montreal's the best second-half team in the league. I don't know what happens to them at halftime, but they come out very strong, and especially in the third quarter. I believe they have the most points in the third quarter in the CFL.
You know what? They weren't too bad in the first half either. It was 24 points. But you know what? It's funny, though. Hey, after the first quarter, we're talking, boy, Ethan Cavillio, he looks outstanding. It's 14-7, and now it's like a deathbed for the Ticats. But, hey, this is the Canadian Football League. There's still a lot of ball to be played by both teams.
An interception usually takes a sting out of a team, you know, and somehow you have to bounce back from that, and they haven't bounced back from it yet offensively, so they got to go in at halftime and make some adjustments.
Coach, is the key for the Hamilton defense stopping Mike Pringle, because he is having a field day on this football field? Well, I think Les touched on it earlier in the game about, you know, how they're matching up with not using Monfort in there at that weak side linebacker, which would be better probably against the run, and that's part of Montreal's offense. Pringle, the running game's always been very important to Tracy Ham being a good quarterback. And when he's running along with a good running back like Pringle, and he's throwing the ball extremely well tonight, I think. Tracy's playing very well. But what Pringle doesn't do well, Bob, is return kickoffs and punts. You saw he had trouble with the kickoff. The Alouettes miss Gary Harrell tonight. He was the guy who got them good field position on the kick and punt returns in the last few weeks. He also was a terrific receiver. So I think they're going to try to get him back for the playoffs. You know what, Marty? The point's well taken, and perhaps they do miss him a little bit more at that wide receiver position. Instead, they've had Dexter Dawson in there. They've substituted people. What we'll do is we'll take a short break. Thanks very much, gentlemen. We will return and set up the rest of this weekend's action. You are watching the CFL Live on TSN. Stay tuned. With TSN, you're always live and interactive. Here are your 2v1 standings so far. Now, tomorrow, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are home to the Ottawa Rough Riders. Winnipeg will do no better than 3rd place in the West Division. They have no chance of catching the Edmonton Eskimos. We'll have this football game for you. We're on the air at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 11 a.m. Pacific Time. As for Ottawa, well, they're playing for nothing but pride.
I think the bottom line is you have to have some pride about yourself. You know, there's 2 games left. We've got to do the best we can. You know, we've had so many games where, you know, it's been so close, and we've got to, you know, together as a team, we're looking to see if we could put together 4 quarters of football. You know, young teams aren't used to hearing the stuff that's going on outside of, you know, outside of football, and it's taking a toll on the younger guys. And but the bottom line is you got to do what you can between the 2 white lines.
We want to perform for the fans. I mean, we want to show them that we have a good team and that we can, you know, put a good product on the field. So I don't think that's pressure on us. It's just us as athletes going out doing what we're supposed to do and, you know, give a good show. You know, maybe, you know, if we play good, then they'll come back out. I mean, you know, we won't have to get the win every time, but as long as they know that we have guys on this team that plays hard every game and is out there trying to win, not just out there just to be playing. Then hopefully they'll come back.
Now, the BC Lions are also eliminated from postseason play. On Sunday, they will take on the Toronto Argonauts. Now, the Argos have only lost 3 football games this season, but one of those has come at the hands of the BC Lions. And then there's the big game. This is going to be a dandy. Calgary in Edmonton. Stamps, Eskimos. We're on the air with our pregame show at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. That's 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time. The Stamps have already clinched first place in the West. The Edmonton Eskimos have secured second place in the West Division. As we take a look at the Eastern standings and the Western standings, the Toronto Argonauts, they have the best record in all the Canadian Football League. They currently reside in first place. Tonight we are watching the fight for second place between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Montreal Alouettes. The Alouettes currently own second place. It'll be an interesting playoff matchup. We don't know where it's going to be held as of yet, but they will go head-to-head. If it's anything like the first half, we're in for a sensational game. That's Sunday, November the 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. What about out west? Your Western semifinal. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the road in Commonwealth will take on the Eskimos. That also goes on November the 10th, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Boy, I get excited. Commonwealth.
I know you would.
Play our show,
Homer.
Well, I was there for 7 years. You know, you get an affiliation and an affinity for the team.
Well, you got to think
gold and green.
You got to think that Winnipeg. I mean, Edmonton has a warm-up to get to Calgary with Winnipeg. I don't think Winnipeg has the quarterbacks that can match up with a team like Edmonton's defense. So I think that's a warm-up for Edmonton. You know, as a matter of fact, it's a game.
Unfortunately, a lot of people believe that Edmonton doesn't have a quarterback that can match up with Calgary. That's the unusual scenario. But what about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Do they have any chance of advancing? Or are we going to see that classic matchup again? It's going to be Calgary, Edmonton in the Western Final, Coach.
Well, when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. Like we always say as coaches, it's a whole new season, and it's a sudden death game. So, but based on the season's play and looking at the personnel of the teams as far as consistency, it would have to favor Edmonton in this case. And, you know, especially if Winnipeg's going to have problems with their quarterback situation, having a healthy one.
And Winnipeg's defense is the only thing that's been carrying this team. When you want to talk about teams, you know, being carried, I think it's Winnipeg's defense that's been carrying this team. They have a good secondary and they got good linebackers. You know, so if they got a chance, it'll be the defense that'll pull it through for them.
Well, I think Winnipeg's playing very undisciplined football lately. But if I were an Edmonton Eskimo fan, I'd be frightened about Danny McManus. I know he's a terrific guy, but he's just so inconsistent. I mean, you cannot rely on a quarterback like that come playoff time.
What, the Bombers? The Winnipeg Blue Bombers playing undisciplined football? I mean, Les Brown was one of the ringleaders there when they were the bad boys of the CFL.
Hey, one of the calm guys.
How come you guys always want to live in the past? You know, Les doesn't play anymore. I don't coach anymore. Let's talk about what these guys are
Okay,
doing.
I'm going to tell you something about tomorrow. I think Ottawa's going to beat Winnipeg tomorrow. I think this could be Ottawa's last game in Ottawa. So,
you know what, Marty? Ottawa's personnel is pretty darn good. I mean, they haven't been able to win football games on a consistent basis this year, but they've got darn good personnel in their football team.
I agree with you.
Yeah, but you know
100%.
what, though, Coach? We can't talk in the past. Ottawa can't roll back the season and all of a sudden begin anew.
No, but you know what?
I'm
He's
talking
right.
about tomorrow.
I agree. I want to say something. I agree with Bob for a change because the truth is that team is better than its record.
Oh, sure.
They've got some terrific players on defense. I like Will Height, McGriggs. Those guys are good. If that team sticks around for next year, they're going to be heard from.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll take another break. You're watching the CFL live on TSN, but as we go to commercial, here's a look at the CIAU's Top 10. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The last time these two teams met, the Hall of Fame game. They ranked up over 70 points, so I guess we really shouldn't be too surprised with the first half. For just the stats, let's return to Montreal. Here's Gordon Lake.
Thanks very much, Jared. If there's been a better half of football in the CFL this year, I haven't seen it. The Hamilton Ticats waited until the end of the first half to make their mistakes, but then they made some costly ones, turnovers that cost them dearly. Harold Nash has 2 interceptions, one of them for a touchdown. 490 yards in net offense between the two teams in the first half. Hamilton throws the ball for 254, and Montreal runs it for 113. Leaf, we've got a close game here as we go to the second half. What adjustments do these teams make now?
Well, I think if you're Hamilton, you know, Tom Gerhardt was hurt late in the second quarter. He will not play in the second half. they've got to try and stop the run. So Don Southern's team has to get big up front. Their linebackers, I think Greg Eaglin and Montford are going to play a little more in his second half. But I mean, if they can't slow Pringle down, they're not going to shut him down. If they can't slow him down, this Montreal team with a lead can wear you out. On the other hand, Montreal made some key adjustments in the second quarter with their nickel defense. They gave Anthony Cavillo some funny reads, and he fell right into their trap with the interception. So they've made the adjustments. I think Hamilton now, Cavillo's got to throw outside and throw shorter.
Losing the lead costly for Hamilton, 0-6 this year when they trail after the first half. Back with the second when the CFL returns to Montreal right after this. Welcome back to Montreal. What a first half it was. Hamilton jumped out to a 14-0 lead, but turnovers really did the job for the Montreal Alouettes. And Harold Nash with 2 second-quarter interceptions. In fact, at one point in the football game, Anthony Cavillo was intercepted twice in 5 attempts. This is Nash's first, which he returned 33 yards. And this is his second, which he also returned for 33 yards. And a touchdown that gave Montreal the lead. So Harold Nash now with 3 on the year, 2 in the game. And back-to-back weeks with interception returns for touchdowns for the Montreal Alouettes. You can talk about plays that break the team's back. The interception return for a touchdown has to go at the top of the list.
Well, it certainly does. I mean, it's such a momentum shifter. Harold Nash did it twice, and he did it essentially the same way both times. There were seams available, but Cavillo just couldn't get the ball in there quickly enough on the one, and the other he shouldn't have thrown it at all. And we'll see how he reacts to this in the second half, because he kind of struggled late in the second quarter.
Mike Pringle and Dexter Dawson are back deep to receive for the Montreal Alouettes. A very close football game that will decide home field advantage for the first round of the playoffs. This is Pringle from the 15-yard line, and Pringle finally forced out of bounds up at the Montreal 42-yard line. While the quarterbacks had an interesting first half, Tracy Ham threw the first interception, but Cavillo threw the next 2. Cavillo at one point was 12 of 13 passing. Ham is 7 for 11. A very typical Tracy Ham half. Tracy Ham last year was the Grey Cup MVP for the Baltimore Stallions. He did not throw a touchdown pass in the postseason.
Yeah, that's a rather phenomenal statistic. It just shows you how strong that team was with their special teams and defense, and to be able to, their ability to run the football. And essentially, they're no different this year.
Tracy Ham rarely beats himself, and he's got the lead to work with here. Gives it off to Pringle. And Pringle gets out to the 45-yard line. Tracy Ham broke into the league as a threat to throw. He then developed as a passing quarterback. When he was the MVP in '89, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. But Tracy Ham has thrown 30 touchdown passes in a season. He's put up impressive numbers throwing the football. And tonight, this is where he's throwing the football. And you'd be surprised that more than half of his passes are to the left, which is probably where Chris Armstrong is lined up. Second down, Ham under pressure, he is dropped. Mike Campbell gets in for the sack, his 9th of the year. Mike Campbell having his best season sacking the quarterback since he had 11 and was named a CFL All-Star back in '91.
Well, Mike Campbell essentially at the top of working to the wide side tackle. There he is. You know, he had 5 sacks in his first 3 games, and then he went a long time without one. He had one last week. It seemed to charge him up against Winnipeg, and that's a pretty good effort working on Bruce Beaton right there to get by him. Nothing fancy, a bull rush. You can see how excited he is to get that sack.
Oh, they almost blocked the kick, and a flag comes down as Lee Knight knocked Terry Baker down. Earl Winfield from the 30-yard line gets up to the 40 on the return. Lee Knight hit Terry Baker late. A 46-yard punt, an 8-yard return. That was 3rd and a bundle for the Montreal Alouettes. Now the question is, what is the call? We'll tell you when the CFL Live returns to the Olympic Stadium right after this. Terry Baker got roughed by Lee Knight, so he'll have to re-kick it after a 10-yard penalty.
Well, they call it contacting the kicker because it really, I mean, Lee's trying to hold him up, and Look at Baker laughing. I mean, he knows he got away with one. I mean, I guess the good news for Hamilton, it doesn't cost you a first down, but
Lee Knight returned to Hamilton this year after spending some time with Ottawa. Had a 3-touchdown game for the Ottawa Rough Riders, but is glad to be back with the Tabbies, a team that he has spent a good deal of time with, his 10th year in the black and gold. It was contacting the kicker as opposed to roughing the kicker, as you mentioned, and so Baker will punt it again to Earl Winfield.
And I would suspect if you followed Lee Knight on this one, he will not come too close to the kicker.
No. Could have been a costly penalty, though, for the tie kick.
Here he comes on the right of your screen. He actually had a shot at it again.
This is Derek Greer from the 15-yard line. And Greer tiptoes up the sidelines. Good kick by Baker as Greer steps out of bounds at the 24-yard line. A 54-yard punt by Baker, a return of 10 by Derek Greer. So Anthony Cavillo kind of came off the rails at the end of that opening half. Comes back on the football field. Hard to believe, Leaf. He's 24 years old, and in his 3rd year in the Canadian Football League, he broke in with the Las Vegas Posse.
Well, he's got a lot of talent. He's a young guy, and sometimes we tend to forget that, and they need time to mature. And you know, his numbers usually show that his interceptions and touchdowns are very close. He doesn't have that good Tracy Ham type ratio, but yeah, you're right. We do lose sight of the fact that he is still a very, very young quarterback.
Cavillo throws quickly. That is Matt Cody. Cody was close to the first down marker at the 35-yard line and should have enough to move the sticks for Hamilton.
And that is the pass that got him into trouble in the first half, but that time he threw it a fraction of a second quicker. And once his receivers are in the seam now against that nickel, and again, Montreal starts the second half that way with 6 defensive backs, he's going to have to get into those seams quicker because guys like Harold Nash are sitting in the weeds waiting for them.
Harold's looking for the hat trick in this game tonight. He's got 2 interceptions already, one of them for a touchdown.
Well, it sounds like he's not going to get some chances in the second half here.
Early movement. Lions are down. It's picked off. This is Anthony Drawhorn. Touchdown. But I think it's coming back. A 33-yard interception return for a touchdown that will likely be nullified by offside on Grant Carter. What a break for the Ticats. I don't think Drawhorn knows yet.
Well, when he looks back
to find out.
Offside. Montreal 54.
That Grant Carter's offside.
Well, there's no question about it. When we saw the play initially, here's Carter. Watch the snap of the football down there, and you be the judge. I mean, it's close. That is close, and you know, having a second look now, I'm not so sure about that one, and he may be just guilty of his own quickness.
Wow. It negates a touchdown that would have given Montreal a 14-point lead. 1st and 5 now for the Ticats. What a gigantic break for Hamilton. Cavillo. Under pressure, slips away. Now he's in trouble. And Cavillo is collared by Harold Nash, and Anthony Cavillo will be seeing Harold Nash in his nightmares tonight.
Well, Nash comes up limping. He went a long way to make that tackle, and I don't know if he twisted an ankle or not.
Well, no concerns about Montreal for getting defensive backs injured. They've dressed 9 for the game tonight.
Well, Harold Nash, 0-0. He was in the middle of your screen. He's going to show up again. I'll tell you what, Grant Carter made a heck of an effort, because he almost comes up with the sack right there, and that was second effort, so tough to see how that ankle twisted underneath Nash, but he's staying down.
The turf monster might have gotten him, the tough artificial turf, and we were talking to Bob Price about that, and before the game, Bob was saying the toughest part of artificial turf is standing up and coaching for 3 hours on it.
I believe it. You know, people don't realize just what the artificial turf does to your whole body. You know, you and I were down the field, and within a half an hour, my back was getting sore just from being on that surface, and I mentioned that to Bob Price. He said, every coach's back always hurts from standing around on that turf for 3 hours.
Well, the turf here in Montreal can probably be blamed as a major reason that Andre Dawson had to struggle through the final parts of his baseball career. Artificial turf, they say it can't be proven medically. Ask anyone who plays on it. And ask the Edmonton Eskimos what it's like to play 9 home games a year on natural grass. The Eskimos don't get hurt as much as other teams.
No, that's true.
Cavillo has time. Over the middle it is. intercepted again. 3 Montreal defenders around the football. I'll tell you what, that might have hit one of them right in the back.
Well, I think it hit Douglas Kraft in the back, but again, you know, you look at the decision-making process of Anthony Cavillo, and at the end of this play, you're going to see triple coverage on his receiver. Now, you tell me how Bert Thornton's going to make the catch. It actually hits Kraft in the helmet. I mean, that's almost impossible. Bert Thornton's got 3 speedy guys around him, and, you know, Anthony Cavillo, he's just asking for trouble.
Paulus Baldiston will punt for just the 2nd time in the football game. Dexter Dawson back to receive. 11 men up for Montreal. Another low driving kick returnable for Dawson from the 20. Dexter Dawson spins away and gets up to the 34-yard line before the stop is finally made by Brian Walling. A 51-yard punt, a return of 14 yards. Montreal leads Hamilton 24-17. Back in Montreal, which is where these teams will be in 2 weeks if this score holds. The Alouettes have a 4-point lead over Hamilton. Each team has 2 games left to play. Hamilton has to win tonight, win next week, and hope Montreal loses next week to get 2nd place in the CFL's East Division. The Toronto Argonauts home and cooled out, as they say, just like these guys.
I'll tell you what, this is a good way to watch the game. They're sitting just back of the sidelines, a promotion that they run here in Montreal, and it's not a bad place to be.
Great living room. I'd hate to pay the utility bill. A lot of lights in here. First down for the Alouettes from their 35-yard line. The toss goes to Mike Pringle, and Pringle can't find much room, but still to get out to the 41-yard line. Mike Pringle absolutely eats people up in the Canadian Football League, but the Hamilton Ticats are his favorite target. When you think about what he's done against them in his last 6 games, look at the numbers that he's put up. 7 touchdowns in his last 6 games against the Tabbies and 737 yards.
Now, you know, you're almost talking 7 yards a carry right there. Pretty much what he almost got on that last run that looked like he was going to get nothing. But Hamilton did a pretty good job of stringing him out, and he still picked up almost 6.
You gotta slap yourself in the back and say, hey, we held him to a gain of 7.
Yeah.
Ham on play action. Looking out there, almost intercepted, as jumping on the football was Brett Young, and that was within inches of going back the other way.
Wow, one of the few mistakes you'll see Tracy Ham make, play action, and Brett Young, who's back in the lineup for the 2nd week in a row, he's had some injury problems all season long. You know, play selection is pretty good, but Gonzalo Floyd, to his credit, you know, had he bitten on that, Ham may have run for a 1st down, so credit Floyd, too, with helping to cause that commotion.
And Tracy Ham goes, yikes. Kerry Baker to punt. Good high kick. Winfield driven back to the 13-yard line. Flags are down. Winfield still going. Gets up to the 20-yard line. Another flag comes down late. A booming punt by Baker, 57 yards. The return is 7 by Winfield. And you can almost guarantee that that is going to be negated. And Don Southern looks on with disgust from the Hamilton bench. You know what? There's a lot of things I wouldn't want to have happen, but having him mad at me is right near the top of the list.
I would say so.
Illegal block. Hamilton number 27 is declined.
Donovan Wright.
Illegal block. Hamilton number 19.
So they will take the illegal block against Hamilton's Dallas Rice-Abbey, number 19. So he will no doubt be the source of Don Southern's wrath at some point as he talks it over with Mike Philbrick and Mike Campbell.
I know it's good about that. I'll tell you exactly what happened. The center's pulling out. The guard's trying to hook me, but I'm getting a piece of the center pulling. I'm actually
Well, the Ticats have had a weird year. They started out 4-1, then they lost 6 in a row, and now they've won 4 of their last 5. So it's kind of a roll of the dice to see what Hamilton will be like in the playoffs. And don't forget, too, they've used 5 different quarterbacks. They're backed up here with the penalty to their own 7-yard line. And they didn't get the playoff in time. So they'll be backed up still further. The call is time count violation against Montreal.
Violation. Hamilton 13.
Check that, Hamilton, of course, and back they go. They'll be out in the parking lot if they're not careful here in a minute.
back in the ball game. He left with looked like a twisted ankle, but he's back in. So again, the nickel package. And you know, when Hamilton was successful in the first quarter, they did some crossing patterns, and you know, I think that's what they have to get Montreal's secondary doing now, is chasing receivers, not just sitting back and reading the quarterback and squeezing down those lanes.
On first down, the give goes to Mike Saunders, and Miles Garrell just dives into the pile and pushes the whole pile ahead about 5 yards. And Big Miles is capable of moving men, and the plural is the key there.
Well, I laughed. Don Southern was talking to us before the game tonight, and he said, you know, Dave Richardson's going to get some playing time, and he'll probably exchange with Miles Garrell, because we don't feel he's really in great shape right now. That might be a little somewhat of an understatement.
I'm not sure that Miles has ever seen a Stairmaster. And I wouldn't want to see him on one, to tell you the truth.
I can't wait till he listens to the replay of this game.
Second down. Cavillo up and running, and Cavillo still going out across the 20 as a first down. As he gets to the 22-yard line, Alfred Payton ran him down, along with Grant Carter, but a big first down for the Hamilton Ticats.
And that's pretty impressive. By the end of that run, there was 5 Montreal Alouettes bringing down Anthony Cavillo, the quarterback. And, you know, as a quarterback, I'll tell you what, you may grab this clip and put it in a highlight reel, because there's about 5 guys right now that are all around jumping on the pile, and that doesn't happen too often when you're tackling a quarterback. That's good. He got that first down and gave himself some breathing room from deep in his own territory.
Hamilton has rushed the ball for just 46 yards in the game. Cavillo, pump fake, can't find anyone open. Now he slings it deep for Phillips, who broke off the route, and it is picked off by Spencer McLennan. And McLennan is dragged down the 35-yard line with another interception for Anthony Cavillo. Almost as good as a punt, though, I guess. A 50-yard interception and not much of a return.
Well, I guess
it was his 4th of the year.
Yeah, I guess that's the good news. If you're not going to get any more first downs in this drive, then this is a pretty good punt, because there's no return. The net yardage is about 50 yards, but again, you know, there's some. You're just not sure where Cavillo is going with this. I know the scramble was on and receivers were trying to get open, but again, a ball that maybe shouldn't have been thrown.
3rd interception thrown by Hamilton. The first resulted in a touchdown drive. The second was returned for a touchdown. And gives it off to Pringle. Look at Mike Pringle go. Out to the 49-yard line. And another first down for the Montreal Alouettes along the ground from Mike Pringle. And Pringle has got over 100 yards rushing in the game already. And bad news for the Hamilton Ticats, because when they hold the other team under 100 yards rushing, they're 7-2. And suffice to say, when they don't, they are 1-6. And throwing quickly has Chris Armstrong. Catches at the top of his shoes, gets across midfield, and down to the Hamilton 54-yard line. A pickup of 6 yards for Chris Armstrong.
Well, again, Tracy Ham now with a 7-point lead halfway through the 3rd quarter. He has the luxury of, you know, just grinding away now. He's got the 7-point lead. This team is a good team at keeping a lead, and all of a sudden he's starting to mix it up, short passes. He's got Mike Pringle over 100 yards. Things are looking pretty good. And then you look at this graphic, and it tells you that they're pretty strong in this quarter as well.
Bob Price must give great halftime speeches.
Yes.
On first down, Pringle, look at him go, Mike Pringle. Another first down as he gets down to the 34-yard line. Mike Pringle is just shredding the Hamilton Ticats with the help of that big offensive line. A gain of 19 yards, just tucked in behind Neil Fort. No wonder he was hard to catch. How could you see him behind him?
Wow, what he's so good at is the cutback. He sees the lane right there in the cutback, and then he's following Neil Fort. Big old Neil Fort can't really find anybody to block down there.
He just jumped in his back pocket and went for the ride. First down from the 34-yard line. Impressive march by the Montreal Alouettes. And all kinds of time. Looking for Jock Climbing. He's got the catch, and he has a touchdown. Jock Climbing, 34-yard touchdown.
Tracy Ham allows him to just sit in the pocket and wait for Climbey to come open. Brett Young gambles and loses. And pretty easy trip into the end zone for Jock Climbey. Amazing to think that he's gone almost 3 quarters to pick up his first catch of the night. He's their leading receiver.
You gamble like that in Vegas, you go home wearing a barrel.
Well, I'll tell you, that's tough. You got to pick your spots, and Brett Young obviously felt in his heart that he could make the play, but he wasn't really close.
All 3 Hamilton interceptions have led to Montreal touchdowns as the Owls lead it 31-17. Jock Climbey having a big smile on the sidelines. No wonder his team has outscored Hamilton 31-3 since falling behind 14-0.
Yeah, I think that puts this game into perspective, how they've made their adjustments and come back, but Tracy Ham keeps those feet moving, and when Climbey finally comes open, he had plenty of time to find him.
Tiptoes up the sidelines. You're talking about keeping his feet moving. You hear about guys getting happy feet, but a big difference when Tracy Ham.
Those are good feet.
That is, the good feet. Here's Matt Cody from the 10-yard line on the kickoff return. Cody finds the outside, but is pushed out of bounds on the play by Joey Yock. So John Climbey went over 1,000 yards a week ago. Has the touchdown catch of 34 yards from Tracy Ham, and Montreal with a 31-17 lead. If they win this game, they'll get to do it all over again with Hamilton in 2 weeks here at the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, Gord, I think we've really hit the critical point in the football game for Hamilton. I mean, everything has gone Montreal's way. Offensively, Hamilton has not been able to shut them down. I think they've hit the critical point that if Hamilton can't answer now or shortly, I'm not sure they can win this football game. Montreal sure has capitalized on Hamilton's mistakes.
Mike Saunders on the carry, pulls his way ahead to the 30-yard line for a pickup of 6 yards. Mike Saunders is an interesting player in this offense because you won't find many backs who run the ball and catch it in combination as well as he does, but they don't seem to have found the way to use him the way that a lot of other teams do.
Well, I mean, essentially, Anthony Cavillo is a downtown kind of quarterback, and that means he wants to stretch the defense, and he wants to throw those 15-yard-plus patterns. That doesn't include throwing to your running back a heck of a lot, and that's really not in his repertoire.
Cavillo back in the shotgun on 2nd and 4, and play is called before the ball is snapped, and that might be the 2nd time count violation against Cavillo.
Actually, Gord, I think you make a good point here.
Hamilton 13.
We hear the call. You know, when you're struggling, I think, Anthony Cavillo's got to sometimes pull back from that downtown mentality and try and give it to a Mike Saunders who has the ability to make tacklers miss. And, you go back to high percentage passing and maybe you change the flow of the game a little bit. And, you talk about he's a young quarterback. Sometimes your coach has to help you out with those decisions. I'm not sure if John Jenkins and Ian talked about that.
2nd and 9 for Cavillo. And Cavillo's pass is tipped up in the air and caught by Bert Thornton. It'll be a first down for the Ticats up at the 45-yard line, a pickup of 20 yards. That keeps the drive alive. Cavillo pretty fortunate that wasn't caught by the men in blue.
And he took
his right thumb.
Yeah, watch as he follows through. He hits the helmet of Doug Peterson right there. And you're right, that's pretty alert play by Bert Thornton. You'll see Doug Peterson in the middle of your screen. And watch the release point. He clicks just the front of the helmet.
That's what happened to Matt Dunnigan last year in Birmingham. Broke his thumb and kept him out for the early part of the season. Quarterbacks are injured in their throwing motion, hitting helmets as much as anything. Cavillo goes to the wide side, has Ted Long, and Ted Long should have a first down as he is wrapped up across midfield at the Montreal 54-yard line. Now, one thing, talking to Montreal players before this game, they were talking about having the great running game. What they were saying was, if you're struggling, it's great. You just put the ball on the ground for a while to settle yourself down. A luxury that Hamilton doesn't have.
Well, I've said that all year long. I mean, they've got plan A, and that's it. There's no plan B, really, in this offense. And, you could talk about all those subtle little plays that are pass plays that, essentially you're trying to run the football with them, but Hamilton really hasn't used that a heck of a lot tonight.
2:20 to play here in the 3rd quarter. Hamilton trails by 2 touchdowns. Camille gets hit as he throws the football, completes it to Earl Winfield, and pickup of 8. And Earl Winfield is hobbling again on a wonky left ankle. Well, Earl Winfield got clocked by Charlie Gordon earlier in the game. This time he's hurt as he is pushed out of bounds.
It's tough to really tell. I think he did that when he was running the pass pattern, and it's tough to tell what's happened to him, if it's the ankle or whatever, but he did it when he was making the break.
Earl Winfield, by the way, came into this game 101 yards short of Terry Evanson for 8th on the CFL's all-time receiving yards list. Earl, a highly decorated player in the Canadian Football League. One thing we've always been impressed with, the toughness of this guy.
Well, he's a courageous player, and what I've always liked about Earl is his ability to go up over the top of people and make a spectacular catch. You know, he may only have a couple of catches a game, but I'll tell you, at least one of them probably of the super variety.
Earl Winfield makes his way slowly to the sidelines. Think of a game he played against the Edmonton Eskimos that we did 3 years ago when he had 3 touchdowns in the game after suffering cracked ribs in the first quarter. Mike Campbell, the Hamilton defense, talking it over, trying to figure out a way to stop the Montreal offense when it gets the ball back. But right now the focus is on the Ticat offense. To a 2nd and short from the Montreal 45. From the shotgun, Cavillo quickly up and throwing. Has Matt Cody, has a first down at the 40-yard line. You know what Montreal would do on 2nd and 2. Hamilton, it gets a little trickier.
Well, they tried to run it earlier in the game on 2nd and 2 and didn't make it. But this time, you know, they just decided to take the easy route. And Matt Cody, I mean, you see, there's nobody out here defending him. He's got lots of cushion. So, I mean, this is a good call. Throw the out here. I mean, there's nobody near him. Charlie Gordon was giving him about 10 yards there.
Dare I say that Rob Creefo might have run a little interference for him there?
Oh, a little bit, but when you're getting a bump and run, you know, it can make it look like interference pretty easy without even being designed that way.
Creefo number 79 at the top of your screen. Cavillo back to the shotgun. Under pressure and sack, Doug Peterson. Grant Carter got the initial pressure that forced Cavillo to step up, and Doug Peterson finished him off for his 7th sack of the year.
Gord, you called it perfectly. It was Carter. Watch Carter. He flushes Cavillo to come up, and then Doug Peterson right there is the guy that's going to get the sack. But, I mean, that's teamwork. You know, one guy forces you up, and whoops, I mean, you run right into the arms of the other guy. Peterson better go over and high-five his buddy, because Grant Carter should get half of that one for his effort.
Doug Peterson was ejected in the 4th quarter last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders, but has come back with a strong game tonight. Cavillo, pump fake. Steps up, gets hit, and has it complete to Ted Long. And Long is down to the 35-yard line for a pickup of 12. But it'll leave the Ticats well short of a first down, and likely forced them to try a field goal with Paul Osbaldiston.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Cavillo's taking a lot of shots, too. I mean, here's Ted Long. The fun starts. He's going to have to look for an open area. I mean, the pattern's over now, and he just got into a good spot. Although it comes, but here, you know, again, I'm talking about the pressure. Nice spin move by Doug Peterson, and he goes back and, you know, I mean, not a devastating hit, but once again, Cavillo has to pick himself up off the ground.
Paul Osbaldiston will try a field goal from the 41-yard line. Osbaldiston is 6 of 14 outside the 40 this year. Osbaldiston puts it up and puts it through. So the Hamilton Ticats have their first points since early in the 2nd quarter of the football game. 31-20 is the score here. Stay tuned at the conclusion of today's game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Paul Osbaldiston, who last week accounted for 19 of Hamilton's 25 points and who kicked 8 field goals in the game earlier this year, has a field goal, his 2nd of the game, and Hamilton has stopped the bleeding anyway, down 31-20 with 13 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter.
And you know, Gord, I mean, I said at the beginning of that drive it was critical that they somehow try and change the flow of the game. Well, they did that. They put some plays together. They got 3 points. And as explosive as they are, I mean, they only trail by 11 essentially as we'll probably enter the 4th quarter, and that's not so bad.
Osbaldiston to kick it off. Mike Pringle's back deep to receive, along with Nigel Williams. This is Pringle from the 15-yard line. Pringle's on a busy night. And here he goes again. Out across the 40. He returns the kickoff to the 45-yard line. A 60-yard kickoff. A return of 30. 7 seconds to play in the third quarter. Let's join TSN's Michael Whalen down at the Hamilton bench. Michael?
Gord, as you guys know, Earl Winfield is a very, very resilient guy, but he's done. It seemed rather innocent when he caught that ball, but he's pulled a hammy on the right side, and he's done for the game.
Thank you very much, Michael. Doing his Gary Owens down there in the loud Olympic Stadium. And Earl Winfield up and limping, and that's too bad. Earl has said he will retire at the end of the year. He's told me before the game he's 90% sure, but Anthony Drawhorn pretty much finished the deal 2 weeks ago, and Hamilton will miss him in the offense. Mike Pringle stepping up there, and finally the Hamilton Ticats are able to contain him. Gonzalo Floyd comes up to make the stop. 31-20, Montreal leads Hamilton with 15 minutes to play. Let's send you back now to our CFL Live Control Center.
CFL Live at the Quarter, brought to you by Subway, the place where fresh is the taste.
So the Hamilton Tiger Cats do, in fact, pick up a field goal in that third quarter of play, but you've got to question Montreal and their ability to shut down the offense of the Ticats, the passing routes. They're playing very well. How are they doing it, Les?
Well, you know, Anthony Cavillio's having a lot of time throwing the ball, but that secondary, Dave Ritchie, when we were in Ottawa, he brought in that 7 defensive back scheme against Calgary because Calgary didn't really have a running game, and now Hamilton doesn't have a running game, so he can scheme against the pass. He brings in 7 defensive backs. He sometimes plays man, sometimes plays zone, and it's really confusing the quarterback because you see too many defensive backs out there, and that's what's got him in a blunder right now.
Well, Les, I know you like Dave Ritchie because you played for him, and he's a terrific defensive coordinator. He was a good head coach.
Excellent.
But we also have to give some credit, I think, to the head coach of the Alouettes, Bob Price. At the beginning of the season, there was a lot of talk that this gentleman was didn't have the demeanor to be a head coach. He was too quiet. He maybe wasn't even knowledgeable enough with the CFL. There were rumors, if you remember, that Ritchie was going to replace Price. But if you talk to the Alouette players now, they'll tell you that Price has command of the CFL. He has command of the team. He's doing a very good job as a head coach. And this team is the hottest team in the CFL right now. And if I'm the Toronto Argonauts, I'm worried about the Montreal Alouettes and Coach Price.
Well, they're doing a good job. There's no doubt about it. And one thing going into this game that's really true to form tonight is that Montreal had a plus 21 going into this game on the season in the giveaway takeaway. Hamilton was minus 16. That's a differential of 37-point difference, and that shows the way this game's being played because Montreal just doesn't beat themselves.
And they're not beating themselves in this football game, and good old momentum is definitely on the Alouette side. Let's return to Montreal for the fourth quarter of play as we rejoin Gord Miller and Leif Patterson. Gentlemen?
All right, thanks very much, Darren. The number through 3 quarters brought to you by new Mono Ultra Sealant, and the offense just keeps on rolling. Hamilton has 366 net yards, but I'll tell you what, Leif, there's one number that stands out.
Well, you know what? The turnovers are the killer because when you have the ball that much longer than your opposition and you're not at least tied, it tells you that you've made some big mistakes.
Second down for the Alouettes. They swing it on the backfield for Pringle, wide open. Pringle's got a first down and then some. Mike Pringle still going, loses the football. And Hamilton gets it back. It's the Hamilton Ticats football as it was punched out, I believe, by Brett Young and fallen on by Greg Eaglin, a 33-yard pass and run play, but Eaglin comes up with a football. You talked about turnovers. That's a huge one for Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, what a beautiful run by Mike Pringle initially. Joe Montford's in coverage. He just can't even get close. But watch Brett Young. I think it's Young. And this is a design play where he's trying to pop it out. He pops it out, and Greg Eaglin will make the recovery. I tell you what, Ticat, we just talked about turnovers killing them. This one really gives them a big shot in the arm.
Great play by Brett Young to get that in there. The Ticats get the ball back at their own 22-yard line. They trail by 11 points, but lots of time to play in a fourth quarter that has been wide open. And the bad news for Montreal is that Mike Pringle is leaving the field shaken up. It appears to be the left arm in which he was holding the football.
Now, the only really interesting thing when you saw that turnover graphic is that the 3 turnovers that Hamilton's committed have resulted in 21 points for the Montreal Alouettes, and that is pretty significant.
Well, the previous turnover by Montreal resulted in Hamilton's second touchdown. Cavillo gets it to Ted Long. And Long is collared up at the 35-yard line. Paul Randolph, the middle linebacker, made the stop. Gets a pickup of 13 yards and a quick Hamilton first down.
And all of a sudden, Cavillo's having success again with crossing patterns. He brought Ted Long across the field, and that's a tough assignment for Paul Randolph to handle. See, he's not, I mean, he closes the ground, but that's a pretty easy pattern for Ted Long to run, and a pretty easy completion. But the crossing patterns against this extra defensive back defense are going to work. Make guys chase you.
First down for the Ticats from the 36-yard line. They show blitz, and they run Mike Saunders. Here comes Saunders around the left side, out to midfield and out of bounds at the Montreal 54-yard line. Mike Saunders ran right away from the Montreal defense, a 20-yard pickup.
Well, you know, Hamilton's offensive line have to do a lot of pass blocking, and occasionally they get to fire out and give credit where credit's due. Watch Miles Gurrell on the right side. Watch how he handles Grant Carter, gets to the outside here. He gets actually Paul Randolph and seals off the corner. That is a nice-looking running play, but give Miles Gurrell credit. So when they get the opportunity to fire off, they have some fun with it.
A 20-yard gain along the ground is Hamilton's longest of the night. Cavillo on first down, back to the air, slings it and almost has it picked off by Paul Randolph, who is the only man near the football, but there's a flag at the end of the play as Cavillo was knocked down. Alfred Payton was there along with Doug Peterson, and Hamilton may get a break here.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Montreal 94.
Doug Peterson, who's been in Cavillo's face all night, gets called for being there a little late. And the incompletion won't matter as the Ticats move the ball down to the Montreal 39-yard line.
Well, again, penalties helping out the Ticats. Doug Peterson, boy, oh boy, he and Alfred Payton, they really give him a shot. Miles has not missed too many meals.
No, he's not walked by many buffets.
There you go.
His shadow weighs 40 pounds. Cavillo wants to throw, looking deep, has a man open, incomplete. He was looking there for Jason Phillips. Covered on the play by Douglas Kraft. I'll tell you what, the next time Miles sees me, he's going to drive me like a nail. And there's Mike Pringle with the left elbow having some ice on it. So Earl Winfield is out for the Hamilton Ticats, and now Mike Pringle has a bad left elbow for the Montreal Alouettes. And Pringle has accounted for 122 yards along the ground and 2 Montreal touchdowns.
You know, sometimes I don't think these comparisons are very fair because often it's the structure of your offense, and for Mike Saunders, he's never going to get the amount of carries that Pringle gets, and the offense isn't structured for him. I mean, it's interesting to see how each team accomplishes their yardage, but sometimes I think it's unfair to compare running backs like that.
Well, Mike Saunders essentially runs the football to give the receivers a breath after they've run downfield in pass routes.
That's right.
You know, just give them a breather and let them come back and throw it next time. An injured Montreal Alouette down on the field, and that is Harold Nash, who is down. He of the 2 interceptions in this game, one of them for a touchdown. 12:54 to play in the fourth quarter of an entertaining football game. Montreal leads Hamilton 31-20, but the Ticats are driving. Don Southern's Hamilton Tiger Cats trail by 11 points with 12:54 to play in the fourth quarter. And for Don Southern, fast starts are nothing new. As the head coach of the Ticats, he's 11-9 before Labor Day, but 8-18 afterwards. This year he's 4-3 after Labor Day, as the Ticats have won 3 of the last 4 games. But quick starts that don't materialize into great seasons for the Ticats. Here they have the ball at the 39-yard line, 2nd and 10. Cavillo steps up in the pocket, delivers over the middle, and has it complete as Paul Randolph makes the stop. A pickup of 14 yards for Ted Long, and another Hamilton first down on 2nd and long.
Well, I tell you, Hamilton has some receivers that can catch the football. Watch this catch by Matt Cody. I mean, this is talent. He gets into the open spot, but hey, that's tough to go back against the grain behind your body and make that catch knowing you're going to get drilled. And you know, he had to work into the open area between those 3 guys.
And as Montreal makes the tackles, you can see that Hamilton rolls up the yards. Cody leads the league in receiving yards. On first down, they give it off to Mike Saunders. And Saunders, with a good pickup, close to a first down as he gets down to the 15-yard line. An impressive drive by the Hamilton Ticats. You talked about them mixing running and passing in the first half. They're back to it.
Yeah, and they're doing it very well again. And you know what it's done? It's slowed the rush down a little bit. And with that carry by Mike Saunders, I mean, this is a team that only averages 68 on the ground. They're certainly well over that tonight in this game.
The only time Hamilton's come back in the third quarter against Montreal in the Hall of Fame game at Alouettes Stadium. Camillo has Rob Creefo and a first down or close to it at the 5-yard line, depending on the spot. Rob Creefo with his first catch of the football game. He began the year in the training camp of the Montreal Alouettes.
He's been at the training camp of every team in the league, I think, as Rob Creefo, but you're going to love the size of him. He's 6'6", 230 pounds, originally from the University of Toronto. I'll tell you what, he's a pretty easy guy to find out on the field there.
He's playing wide receiver for the Ticats with Earl Winfield out of the game. Not your prototypical wide receiver. It's second and inches. Cavillo's in the shotgun. Up and throwing, has it complete, and a touchdown to Ted Long. Ted Long with his second touchdown of the game, and the Ticats are right back in it.
And you know what, Gord? You go back to that drive they had where they got the Paulus Baldiston field goal. And it stopped the bleeding. It slowed the momentum of Montreal, and Hamilton has had 2 successful possessions since that. A field goal, and now a great drive capped off by this touchdown by Ted Long. And Anthony Cavillo put some mustard on that football as he delivered it out there. And for Ted Long, I believe that's his second touchdown of the football game.
And his 5th of the season. Interesting that on second and inches from the 5, the Hamilton Ticats would come up throwing when most teams would just dive ahead and try to get themselves 3 plays from the 5. But the Ticats, you can't argue with what works.
No, you can't. And I mean, they certainly stick with their philosophy, whether you like it or not.
They'll go down with their guns a-blazing, and they're back to blazing now with 10:27 to play in the fourth quarter. The Hamilton Ticats may just be fashioning another fourth quarter comeback on the Montreal Alouettes. Ted Long has his second touchdown of the football game. Montreal's lead is down to 4. 5 turnovers in the game have all led to touchdowns. And you talk about turnovers being a major story. It's certainly been almost the entire story tonight. Spencer McLennan drops the kickoff and picks it up at the 10 with the wedge in front of him. McLennan just dives ahead to get to the 27-yard line. He does not normally return kickoffs. Generally, that's done by Mike Pringle, but he's out right now. So Ted Long with the touchdown catch as the Hamilton Ticats take advantage of the Mike Pringle fumble to go 88 yards in 8 plays and cut the lead down to 4.
And not to discredit Spencer McLennan, but you notice with Mike Pringle not returning kicks, you know, any kick that you keep a team inside the 35-yard line as a cover team, you consider that you've done a good job. Notice that Montreal starts at their own 28-yard line.
Mike Pringle not out there for this first down play. Montreal goes to a 5-receiver set with Joey Yock in the game. They fake it to Michael Souls, throw it out there, and it is complete to Denny Montana. His first catch in the Canadian Football League. The graduate of Concordia University had a great career there. And the first-year man has the grab. Well, we have a moment. Let's go down to Michael Whalen.
Gord, I guess you can forget Mike Pringle returning to this game. He has a hyperextended elbow. It actually came out of the joint. That's a big, bad blow for the Montreal Alouettes. And as you mentioned, Yock is in there right now. Normally, Harold Nash would probably replace Pringle, but he's also hurt.
And the throw gets it there to Chris Armstrong. Armstrong with a man all over him. Gary Lewis still makes the catch and gets up to the 50-yard line for a pickup of 17 yards and a Montreal first down. Chris Armstrong from Tracy Ham. That is a combination we've been talking about for a long time, going back to their days in Edmonton. And Armstrong has long been Ham's favorite receiver in Edmonton and Baltimore and now in Montreal. First down Alouettes from their own 49-yard line. This This is Michael Soul. And Souls gets a pickup of 1. We talked about Souls earlier in the game, Leaf, and it's worth mentioning again what a key part of successful football this guy has been, first in Edmonton and now here in Montreal. It's no coincidence that teams with Michael Souls on them tend to do well consistently.
Well, he helps you out when you need him in for maximum protection passing. He's a terrific blocker. And I'll tell you, probably the best thing he does is catch the football. He's made some phenomenal catches this season, and, you know, he's had an all-star year as a fullback in the Eastern Conference.
7 receiving touchdowns for Souls this year. Ham swings it on the backfield, and there it is. Michael Souls puts his head down and gets the first down as he barrels past Kerry Lewis and Derek Greer.
Now tell me, Gord, was there any doubt whether he was going to go out of bounds or take on the tacklers there? I mean, you know, he gets a full head of steam. This is kind of fun for Michael Souls. Swing pass, easy pass to complete. When the linebacker Montford dropped off, Ham's read was to go initially to the flat, and he did it. That's a pretty good contact downfield.
Well, you get a guy like Michael Souls who weighs in at 220 pounds, and he sees those guys at 175, 180. He'll take that any day.
Well, sure, that's fun for him. I mean, you know, you get to block and knock him down, but running over them's a little bit more fun.
From the Hamilton 50, Ham with time, swings it out for Souls again, and Souls can't hang on. It'll be second down.
I gotta hold it. Yeah, you saw Joe Montford talking to the sidelines, and he's really getting caught in a bind between how deep is he going to drop to try and help on the hook zones, and how much is he going to stay up and respect the swing of Michael Souls out in the flat. He's kind of getting caught in the middle right now. I think he's better off to let Souls catch those passes and work for maximum coverage downfield.
Montford in there in place of the injured Tom Gerhardt, who left in the first half. 2nd and 10 for the Owls. And all day gets it away and complete to Chris Armstrong. And Armstrong up and running, gets down to the 27-yard line. Another first down for Montreal and a pickup of 24 yards for Chris Armstrong, who has now gone over 100 yards receiving in the football game.
Hamilton doesn't blitz a lot. They rely on their front four to get some pass rush, and, you know, Campbell's going to loop all the way around. He gets so close to Tracy Ham, but he gets it away, and Chris Armstrong just keeps working across the field. You know, this is a great pattern against man or zone, and, you know, here's Campbell. You see him to the left, just a fraction late. Philbrick with the hit as well, but Chris Armstrong with the crossing pattern, he's good in zone or man-to-man.
First down from the 26-yard line. Ham on play action is under pressure. Throws it way over the other side of the field and incomplete. Joe Montford got a page of the Montreal playbook because he was in quickly on Ham.
Well, when you run play action and you don't get your linebacker who's coming to bite on it, you're going to be in trouble in a hurry. And to Tracy Ham's credit, he was still able to get away from that rush. Like, he wants to set up, but, like, there's no time to set up.
Montford almost dined on Tracy Ham on that play. It'll be 2nd and 10. Under 6 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Montreal is nursing a 4-point lead.
And again, they go trips formation, and this is dangerous. You see Chris Armstrong at the top of your screen, and he's got lots of room.
Ham still can't find anyone open. Finally, throws it to the sideline, complete to Joey Yacht, who took it right away from Chris Armstrong, and a flag comes down as Yacht goes out of bounds at the 8-yard line. I don't think that pass was to Yacht. I think Armstrong was expecting it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was to Chris Armstrong, but Yacht just came and took it away.
Wow, face masking at the end of the play, too, against Hamilton. An 18-yard gain, tack on the penalty. It'll be half the distance to the goal line.
Well, you have to appreciate...
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton 17.
Gary Lewis. And Southern wanted holding, not face mask, and not against him.
Well, I think you have to appreciate the aggressive nature of Joey Yacht to go after that football. I mean, you know why? It is to Armstrong, but watch how Yacht fights through everybody to make that catch.
Including his own guy.
No, I mean, regardless of who it was going to, you got to give Joey Yacht full marks for being willing to go up and try and make that kind of effort.
You talk about guys that close on the football. Joey Yacht did it very well there. First and goal, Montreal from the 4. Souls and Alan Wetmore in the backfield. This is Souls. Michael Souls close. No so he's stopped at the 1 apparently, even though he's in the end zone. And there's a flag down on the play in the area that would indicate offside, and it is against Hamilton, half the distance again. Will give Montreal first and goal from inside the 2.
Boy, Gord, I tell you, it's fun for me to watch games and to see at critical times in games who makes the big plays.
Offside, Hamilton 73.
You look at Joey Yock, the effort he made to make that catch when the game all of a sudden got very tight again. You look back, you know, Montreal may look back tomorrow and say, it was that play that really won this game for us.
Good thing he caught that ball. If he hadn't, Chris Armstrong might have had a word with him. First and goal from the 2. Souls again. Stopped again. That time, Mike Philbrook got in there along with Joe Montfort. And if anything, that's a loss of a couple.
And you really see without Mike Pringle in there how things are affected, because Alan Wetmore leaves early as the lead blocker. That's their favorite play. So Hamilton's defense got a real jump start on where it was going to go. That's their favorite play in short yardage. And Alan Wetmore's timing was all off.
A loss of a yard for the Alouettes. Second and goal, the 10th play of the drive. Ham rolling out. They take it himself. Now he dumps it, and it's a touchdown. Tracy Ham completes it to Michael Souls, and Souls has his 8th receiving touchdown of the year. They may not have drawn it that way, but it worked to perfection. A 10-play scoring drive for the Alouettes answers the Hamilton touchdown.
Well, I think you always felt that Ham was going to throw here, and this is a great situation for him on the rollout to have that option. And Greg Eaglin really is in a bind there. He doesn't know whether to come up and force the run or stay back and cover Mike Souls. And, you know, they just played a little game with him, and when he made the move on Ham, Souls caught the pass for the touchdown.
8 touchdown catches for a fullback. Remarkable numbers for Michael Souls. Terry Baker for the point after. It is good. Montreal Alouettes have restored their 11-point lead with 4:02 to play in a shootout at the Big O. Michael Souls with his career-high 8th receiving touchdown of the year. Montreal up 38-27.
And we talked about what a great receiver he was, but let this play go, and I'm going to tell you a linebacker or defensive back's worst nightmare, and just stop it right here. Stop it there. There's Greg Eaglin, the linebacker. This is his worst nightmare. This is Michael Souls, who he's covering. When Tracy Ham pressures that line of scrimmage, what does he do? Does he come up, or does he stay in coverage? And really, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. He decides to force the play, and Souls is wide open for the touchdown.
So the Montreal Alouettes will try to see what they can do here with time winding down in the 4th quarter. And they will start from their 35-yard line, a 60-yard kickoff, a return of 20 after an 82-yard, 10-play drive by the Alouettes that cranked 6:18 off the clock.
And you know what, Gord? You know, I'd like to make the point here. Michael Souls will not be nominated as the most valuable player on this team, because this is a team full of a lot of great players. But I'm going to tell you, without his contribution this year, I'm not so sure they would have had the season they're going to have, and he maybe should get consideration for the MVP.
From the 35-yard line, Anthony Cavillo. Under pressure, Cavillo slings it up the sidelines and completes it there to Bert Thornton. And Thornton gets out of bounds at the 46-yard line. Should have a Hamilton first down. CFL award ballots are out this week for the first round of voting, and brings up an interesting question in Montreal. Who's the outstanding Canadian here? Jock Clivey's over 1,000 yards receiving, or Michael Souls?
Well, I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, it's always a pleasant call when you're trying to decide which one's the best, rather than do we have one that's had an outstanding year. And, you know, it's going to be a tough decision.
Got to think that Montreal's Grant Carter will have an excellent chance to be the Eastern nominee as the outstanding defensive player. Hamilton from the 46-yard line. Cavillo's under pressure, gets away, and now has a man wide open. And look out.
Interference.
Bert Thornton is knocked down. There's flags down to the play, and we will have pass interference on the play. And this is a big play as Douglas Kraft was down there. It'll be a 39-yard penalty. if it's intentional.
Well, I don't
I'm
think
pretty
there
sure
was
it was.
No question, he just ran over Bert Thornton.
Deliberate forward pass interference, Montreal 17.
Douglas Kraft is called, and it is a 39-yard penalty and a first down Hamilton.
Well, that's kind of tough to see, but here they are back here. You just follow them as this play unfolds, and I mean, here's Doug Kraft. He just runs over Thornton. I mean,
the advantage, though, Leaf, of an underthrown football.
Yes, absolutely.
It creates the impression of pass interference.
No question. Often the defensive back has no choice but to create contact because the pass is so poorly thrown.
First down, Hamilton. Here comes Mike Saunders, and Saunders battles his way down to the 21-yard line. And it's a pickup of 4.
You know, we've seen this year, Gord, when we get into these crucial stages, 3 minutes to go. You know, Hamilton trails by 11 points. So they're going to have to start thinking if they score, they're going to have to think two-point convert as well.
Last time they met, Hamilton stole one from Montreal with a last-minute field goal. The Ticats are driving here down by 11. Lee Pedersen on his way to Ottawa tomorrow. In fact, right after the game, jumping in the car to go there for the Blue Bombers and the Rough Riders. 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 Pacific tomorrow.
And you and your pal Glenn Suter will be in Calgary or in Edmonton for that game. That should be a heck of a game.
Now Anthony Cavillo dumps it underneath, has it complete to Jason Phillips. Phillips is dragged down the 21-yard line. A pickup of just 2, and that'll bring up 3rd down now for the Hamilton Ticats. And Don Sutherland sends the field goal unit up with 2:32 to play.
And I think this is a good choice because he's got to come out of this drive with points. 2:32 to go, as you mentioned. You know, if they get the 3 here, now they're looking at a touchdown and a 2-point convert, and they can win this football game.
Try it from the 27-yard line. Inside the 30 this year, Osbaldiston is perfect, 20 for 20.
They can tie the football game, excuse me.
From the 27, puts it up and puts it through. 2:23 to play in the 4th quarter. And now the Hamilton Ticats have closed the lead to 8. We talked about it earlier, the importance of this football game for these two teams. They will finish 2nd and 3rd. The question is, in what order? If Hamilton was to win the game tonight and then win against Toronto next week, and Montreal was to lose, the Ticats would get 2nd. Basically, Montreal's magic number is 1. They just got to win a game, or Hamilton's got to lose one. And they can take care of that tonight if they beat the 10.
Well, you see the effects for Bob Price's team without a great returner right now. Instead of having Hamilton kick off and take more time off the clock, they scrimmage at their 35. And, you know, when you want to grind the game out, I'm not so sure they can right now.
Souls is the lone setback. Gets the carry out 1st down, tripped up on the play by Embry and Calvin Tiggle.
And here's where a guy like Calvin Tiggle's really got to play the best football of this game that he's played all night. We haven't talked about him a lot. Hasn't been nearly as active as he was a week ago against Winnipeg. But when it's 2 minutes to go and you know a team wants to start running at you, as they have done most of the night, Tiggle's got to be the guy tackle to tackle to try and make Montreal punt the football.
Game was 6 and 2nd and 4. The clock is running down to 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter. And makes the draw. Fires it, has a man, and should have a first down as Chris Armstrong makes the catch out the 50-yard line. The game is 9. Montreal will move the sticks and move the clock, more importantly. There's an injured Hamilton Ticat on the play. Slow to get up on the play is Brett Young. It really is remarkable when you look at Chris Armstrong and the kind of synergy he has with Tracy Ham. There's really no other way to describe it. Chris Armstrong had back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons in Baltimore, 94 and 95, and he's pretty close again this year. And with a minute and a half to go, there's all kinds of flags. That looks like procedure against Montreal. And now they're talking over with Mike Campbell and the Hamilton defensive captains. By the way, Armstrong has 114 yards receiving in this game, which would give him 943 on the season.
Yeah, we talked at the beginning that he has a shot at 1,000. That'd be a pretty good accomplishment. Both their inside slot backs to have that 1,000-yard magic number when the season is over. don't really know what the discussion is. I'd be shocked if they didn't take the penalty unless they let the play stand somehow.
Legal procedure. Montreal 52.
Guess the only thinking there would be that you give them another down. If you stop them on second down, if you decline the penalty and stop them on second down, you save some time on the clock.
The only thing is, I thought they whistled the play dead before it even started, so I don't really know what the discussion was.
The Alouettes are at their own 45-yard line. There's a minute 32 to play in the fourth quarter. It's 1st and 15. Ham is in the shotgun. Gives it off, makes it up rather, and throws it out there complete to Denny Montana. And Montana is wrapped up quickly on the play. No gain.
Derek Beer made a heck of a play to get up on Denny Montana real fast. Montana, as Gord mentioned earlier, from Concordia, was the first-round pick of the Montreal Alouettes, but chose to try his luck with the Houston Oilers as a free agent and was released. And Montreal giving him his opportunity to his first start tonight really has not factored in this game at all.
Clock is running. 1:15 to play in the fourth quarter. It's 2nd and 15. Hamilton pretty much has to stop Montreal here to have a chance. And lots of time. Has it knocked down and almost intercepted by Brett Young, who would have taken that the other way. As it is, Montreal will be forced to punt with 1:01 to play in the fourth quarter. Well, how about that if Young had taken that back?
And he was really hanging on the hook that time, was Brett Young. You're going to get a good look at him. This is Brett Young right here. And watch him as he just starts hanging on that hook. Well, you lose him a little bit here, but he's going to shoot back into your screen in a hurry. Watch the acceleration and drive through the football. And, you know, that was a knockdown. He didn't really have a chance to make the pick, but nevertheless, a good defensive play.
Matt Cody is back deep to receive the punt along with Ted Long. Ticats setting up the return. Good kick by Baker. This is Cody from the 16-yard line. And Matt Cody is going nowhere. Wrapped up immediately on the play on a solid special team stop made by Dwayne Provo. A 49-yard punt and a return of 3. The net is 46 for Terry Baker, who entered the game as the CFL's second leading receiver. This is the third meeting of the year. Earlier this year, Norman Bradford scored for Montreal as the Owls won pretty easily. But in the return match, the Hall of Fame game, on the final play of the game, Paulus Baldwin put it through as Hamilton overcame a 32-15 deficit and won it by a final score of 39-38.
They have played some entertaining football, these two teams.
Last win here was 10 years ago. The Ticats had won 6 straight. Cavillo up and throwing, has it to Bert Thornton, get out of bounds. He does not. Gets up to the 32-yard line. A pickup of 13 yards.
Well, the one thing that Anthony Cavillo does well is run the hurry up, but he will not let a lot of time expire on this clock getting this ball into play. And, you know, essentially 42 seconds to go. This is 3-down football all the way. They need the touchdown and the 2-point convert to tie this football game.
From the 31, clock is running under 40 seconds. Here comes the rush. Cavillo steps up, and he'll run. And Cavillo stops at the 40-yard line, takes a lot of time off the clock. The clock is still running, and they'll have to put a couple of seconds back on there. There was 28 seconds left as he went down. Bob Price looking on, and 11 wins in the season, a good omen for the Montreal Alouettes in 54, 77, and 79. The common thread is there that all 3 of those were years in which Montreal went to the Grey Cup, winning it in 77 right here in Montreal.
Well, I mean, it's a good-looking football team right now. Mike Pringle left the game with a hyperextended elbow. We don't know the extent of how long that injury would keep him on the sidelines, a game or 2 or whatever. But, I mean, this is a team that plays good special teams. They play very well defensively, and, you know, offensively they do enough good things. There's Mike Pringle, and, you know, that is a major concern, I'm sure.
The hyperextended elbow keeps him out the rest of this football game, and as you mentioned, there'll be severe concern for Montreal about getting ready for the playoffs. Of course, if Montreal wins tonight, they can rest him next week. 2nd and a yard. Cavillo needs some yards, throws it up top. He has a man open. Crefo. Rob Crefo makes the catch. And Crefo still going. Touchdown, Hamilton.
He didn't push him out. He scores.
70-yard touchdown for Mike Crefo. Now Hamilton needs the 2-point conversion. Unbelievable.
do is calm down in a hurry, and I know it's an emotional time, but they've got to get ready to have a good play. They've already used their timeout, so they don't have that luxury to discuss it. I mean, Grifo was left wide open. They just disregarded this 6'6" target down the sidelines, and to Cavillo's credit, he had time and he found him. And watch right here, Charlie Gordon tries to push him out of bounds, but Grifo goes in. So the game comes down to this.
Anthony Cavillo, 0 for 2 in his career on 2-point conversion attempts. One shot from the 5 to tie the game and send it to overtime. And now, timeout is called by Montreal, and Grant Carter throws his helmet down in disgust. And I'm not sure the Alouettes had the right number of people on the field, or maybe they had too many. Grant Carter was absolutely livid that they would call timeout in that situation. Give the Ticats a chance to regroup and talk about it.
Why, that's a good point, but, you know, Cavillo's not even coming to the sidelines, so they obviously, you know, John Jenkins, they have plays in their package for each game for these situations, and, you know, as much as they like to spread a defense out, Hamilton's receiving corps, don't be surprised if they run some sort of rub. Ted Long's caught a couple of passes for touchdowns from that type of formation where the receivers cross and he goes out wide.
Grifo ran the interference for him last time. For 2 from the 5. Cavillo under pressure to the end zone. Cody has it! Matt Cody has the 2, and you won't believe how he got it.
Matt Cody fell down on the goal line running the out, and he's laughing because he got back up, and thank goodness that they had time to throw, and Cavillo found him. But, you know, Cavillo, watch him now because he's looking right to Cody now. He wants to throw it, boom! But now the fun starts, and Matt Cody, I mean, he's having an unbelievable year. He gets up off the ground.
At the end of the year, they don't ask how, it's how many.
Well, you're right.
A 70-yard pass and run touchdown to Rob Grifo. Absolutely astounding, and the Montreal Alouettes must think they are just jinxed by the Hamilton Ticats. They've seen this movie before. Now there's 16 seconds left. The way this game has gone, we should not say that there's going to be overtime definitively, because who knows what Montreal has up its sleeve. All they need is a couple of plays and a point to win it. How about Matt Cody, though? On the 2-point conversion, you said it. He fell at the goal line, got up and made the catch.
Tell you what, like I said before, what's the difference? Wide out, slot, running back. Let's go. We're going to win this.
Offensive tackle, Mike Kubrick says.
How about a little Cleo coverage on the just sucked in. Good job. How you doing, Don Marie? Feels good, huh?
Good for you, Rob Grifo. You've been around to a lot of teams, and you're a good guy, and you made the big play. Yeah, he has been a slot back, a running back, and now he's a wide receiver.
Hamilton, number 3.
Well, Hamilton's called for delay of game, and you might think that's nothing on a kickoff, but don't forget, every 5 yards closer that Montreal gets here is that much closer to a potential field goal to win the game. Osbaldiston will kick it from the 25, and now Spencer McClellan and Nigel Williams move up to the 25 to return the kick. And Osbaldiston drives it low. McClellan from the 25. Here comes Spencer McClellan. Still going. McClellan gets up to the 50-yard line with 10 seconds left. A 25-yard return by Spencer McClellan. And we'll take you back to the play that tied the game, the 2-point conversion. First successful 2-point convert throw by Anthony Cavillo.
Well, what you don't see is Matt Cody falling down on the out. He gets back up and makes a pretty good catch.
Don Southern and the Ticats watching.
He knew it all along.
He says, Matt Cody, yes. All right, 10 seconds to play in the 4th quarter. Ham swings it out of the backfield, tipped up in the air and caught by an offensive lineman. It's caught by Mark Dixon. Out of bounds he goes at the 44-yard line. There's no time left on the clock, but I think he stepped out with 1 second left. And And there's flags all over the field. Oh, this gets interesting now. I don't think we ever thought that Mark Dixon would have the catch to put Montreal in field goal range. The ball was tipped up in the air, and Mark Dixon caught it.
I don't think he ever thought that either.
That's the longest reception of his career, by the way, 16 yards.
Might be the only.
It is the only reception of his career. What's this?
Ineligible receiver. Montreal 64. The penalty is declined.
So Dixon is ineligible downfield. The play will not stand, and as a result, we are going to overtime. Hard to believe the way this fourth quarter was shaping up. The Hamilton Ticats have only come back twice when trailing after 3 quarters. The first time was against the Montreal Alouettes. So was the second time. Let's send you back now to our CFL Live Control Center.
This is so very improbable. Where do we start? Okay, let's start first with the ineligible man downfield. What's the call on that,
It's
Coach?
a good thing for Hamilton that they don't know the rules, because he definitely can catch it after the ball's deflected.
If it was touched by the defensive player first and then deflected into the offensive lineman's hands, he's eligible to
And you
run
know
with
what?
the
He
ball.
did a good job. He was dangling down the sidelines. You know, he gets out. Looked like there was a tick left on the clock, too, when he got out. 1 second left. Let's get back to Rob Crefo. How does a man get this wide open? How do they hit a 60-yard bomb with 22 seconds left on the clock? Les, you've played DB a long time in the CFL. How does that happen?
Well, it looked like they were sitting back in a zone, and somebody screwed up the deep coverage. Charlie looked like he was pointing at the corner's pointing at Charlie. Somebody's got to be back deep. But the mistake came that Charlie didn't make the tackle. If he made the tackle, then I don't know. Hamilton had to get into the end zone with 10 seconds left to go on the clock.
But if you watch that play really closely, Cavill wanted to go to his left, and he had pressure on him, and he stepped up, and then he happened to look to the right, and he saw Rob down the sidelines. And as you mentioned, Les, the worst thing that happened there is that Gordon didn't tackle him. That was unbelievable.
You know, when I played in Winnipeg, Rob Crefo played on our team then, and he used to get so wide open by doing that, because I believe people didn't think that this man run a 6-flat 40, you know?
A 6-flat 40?
Could get that wide open, and they don't never play him that deep, so...
Now, you always talk about Charlie Gordon being your protege. Didn't you ever teach him how to push a guy out of bounds at least, or tackle?
Oh, he definitely made the mistake by not making the tackle.
You know what?
Especially with the time.
We gave a lot of credit to Mr. Ritchie and him bringing in his 7 defensive backs.
You don't hear him raving about Ritchie now, do you?
Oh, yes, I do.
He needed 8 on that one.
The question begs to be asked, where were they? Unbelievable. We are headed for overtime, and they're ready to get it going. Let's return to Montreal to Gordon Leaf.
All right, here are the rules, guys. It's like a new game. 2 5-minute halves. If they're still tied, each team will get 1 point in the standings. By the way, that would be advantage Montreal. The Alouettes would then clinch second place in the Eastern Division. Since '86, 31 overtime games. Only 5 have ended in ties. Montreal played an overtime earlier this year against Saskatchewan here at the Olympic Stadium and won it 23-16 in the extra period. Ted Long picks up the ball at his 20-yard line. And Long reverses his tracks, gets up to the 29 before he got whacked there. A 55-yard kickoff and a return of 9 yards. Paul Randolph got down there. Anthony Cavillo and the Hamilton offense go right back to work.
Well, you know, the guys in the studio talked about Rob Crefo, and, you know, one of the things that I've always felt like teams have just taken him for granted, secondaries that is, that he's a big guy, that, you know, Les talked about maybe he's not all that fast, but you know, he's a guy that they just kind of forget about out there. And he's made 2 catches, that one an enormous catch, and the reason why we're going to overtime.
It started out with Hamilton holding a 14-0 lead. Back came Montreal to lead it by 11 twice. Back came Hamilton to tie it. We're in overtime, and this is Jason Phillips from the catch. Phillips loses the football. Jason Phillips lost the ball, and Montreal appears to have recovered it. The Alouettes have. And guess who's got it? 2 interceptions in the game, 1 for a touchdown, and now a fumble recovery in overtime. His trophy case is going to be stuffed after this game.
And you know, when you fumble in football like that, it's usually because you don't see the tackler coming. You don't feel him. Jason Phillips makes the catch, but he's going to get hit from behind, and I believe it's Grant Carter, 54, and it is. That's just the hit you don't expect.
The Alouettes get the ball at the Hamilton 37-yard line. All 5 turnovers in this game have resulted in touchdowns. This is Souls on first down. Gets his legs cut out from underneath him by Calvin Tiggle. He dives ahead for a pickup of 4.
I think it's worth mentioning, Gordon, you discussed the rules for overtime. And yes, they are 2 5-minute halves. It's like a game that's 10 minutes long, and there is no sudden death. Unlike the NFL and so forth, somebody watching tonight, if Montreal scores first, it doesn't mean it's over. So there are 2 definite 5-minute halves in this game.
At the end of the first overtime half, there'll be a kickoff to open the second. Second down, 6 yards to go. Ham way back, drops it underneath for Jock Climbing. Climbing eludes a tackle and has the first down. Jock Climbing gets down to the 22-yard line, a pickup of 10 and a Montreal first down. Tracy Ham was almost back to midfield when he threw that ball.
Well, some pretty sloppy tackling by Hamilton, and you got Calvin Tiggle right here. I mean, let it go. He's got a shot to make this play. You're going to lose him briefly, but he's going to come back in a hurry. And watch this. I mean, he's got him all wrapped up, and he just comes up with air.
First down from the 23-yard line. Tracy Ham, lots of time. Looking there for Armstrong, incomplete, covered by Tiggle, and Armstrong wants pass interference on the play and will not get it, but Armstrong
Campbell, you're going to get a penalty. You son of a bitch.
That was Mike Campbell he was talking about, by the way, in case you were scoring at home. For people who may spend time in the Southern Doghouse tomorrow if Hamilton doesn't win. Second down, 10 yards to go from the 23 of Hamilton. This after the Ticat fumble on the opening drive of the overtime period. 2:50 left to go in the first overtime half. Ham under pressure, throwing to the corner, has a man and has a touchdown. Nigel Williams. His 3rd touchdown catch of the year, working on Derek Greer. It's a 23-yard catch for the touchdown, and it's his first catch of the game.
And he ran a post corner on Derek Greer, and Derek Greer fell down. You'll see at the end of this play, and Nigel Williams was wide open, and Greer could not get up off the ground. A good move by Williams back to the corner. Greer stumbled.
And she'll keep that ball for safekeeping. Tracy Ham appears to have been shaken up again. Ham was injured in the first half. His right shoulder was shaken up. The touchdown pass allows Terry Bacon to come out and try the point after Montreal with the first points in overtime. And the Alouettes lead 45-38 as Tracy Ham gets medical attention on the sideline. Let's see what happened to the Alouette quarterback.
He took a big shot from Mike Campbell just as he let this ball go. There comes Campbell right up the middle. Tracy Ham hung in to deliver the strike. And a good pattern run by Nigel Williams. Here he is. He takes it up into the corner. And a good move. And Derek Greer just loses his footing. Check the pattern out.
I'm told this was your bread and butter, Leaf, the post corner.
That was my best pattern by far, and he did it just right. You take 3 hard steps to the post, sell that you're going to the post, and then you got to have the real hard break without losing any speed back to the corner. And he should smile, because that was a well-run pattern, and he beat a good corner to do it.
6 turnovers in the game. All 6 have resulted in touchdowns. This, a 37-yard drive on 4 plays after the Jason Phillips fumble. And Nigel Williams caps it off with a 23-yard touchdown catch. This is Matt Cody on the kickoff return from the 10. And the team has been able to muster much on the return game in this football game tonight. Out to the 28-yard line they go. A 17-yard return that time. 2:15 to play in the first overtime half, and Anthony Cavillo will get his second possession in overtime. Maybe he's just waiting for the second overtime half to engineer the comeback. Look at the passing yards. 467 for Cavillo, 283 for Ham. Better than 700 passing yards for these 2 quarterbacks tonight.
And I think those numbers are very typical of what each quarterback does week in and week out. They have different kind of offenses, and I think they both function at a very high level within the framework of the offense that they run.
42 points off turnovers. Astounding.
Yes.
Cavillo from the shotgun. Has time. Has a man. Ted Long makes the catch and gets drilled. I mean, Spencer McLennan dropped a ton of bricks on him, but he hangs on for a pickup of 23 yards.
You know, Spencer McLennan's a lot bigger than you think. He's over 190 pounds. He's only 5'10", but he has Ted Long absolutely in his sights. Give Long credit. He knows he's going to get hit. He could feel it coming, but he tucks it away and hangs on. And well, I'll tell you what, I could really appreciate the big plays that these players are making on the field tonight.
Ted Long over 100 yards receiving for the first time this year. Now, pump fake from Cavillo. Under pressure, Cavillo trying to make it up as he goes along, and he gets dropped by Juan Hammonds. Second sack of the season for Juan Hammonds out of Michigan State. And Cavillo couldn't find anyone over. It looked like he's trying to redraw the play in progress, and that's very difficult to do.
Well, you know, you look at the Montreal front four. I mean, this group has done a lot of pass rushing tonight. Cavillo with over 40 attempts on this game, and
here's Cavillo. Okay, no, never mind.
Yeah. Well, it all fell apart. I mean, these guys couldn't get open, but that Montreal front four has done a lot of running.
No gain. Second down. Under a minute to play in the first overtime half. The clock in the final minute of overtime behaves the same way as it would in the final 3 minutes of regulation time. The clock will stop on an incomplete pass or a player going out of bounds. Cavillo up and throwing, has Creepo. And Creepo gets down to the 43-yard line of the Montreal Alouettes for a Hamilton first down, a pickup of 17 yards for Rob Creepo.
You know, I was thinking about Creepo and the touchdown he scored and how teams, I think, ignore him sometimes. Would they have ignored Earl Winfield had he been in the game like that down the sidelines? I doubt it. But what a contribution he's made.
Rob Creepo threatening 100 yards receiving the game has only caught 3 passes. Now to Bert Thornton. And Thornton will get out of bounds this time. Good play by Thornton down to the 31-yard line with 29 seconds left. Well, Anthony Cavillo last week was 15 of 38, but that's a great game for last week. It was raining sideways in Hamilton. This week, under the perfect conditions in Montreal, he is lighting it up. Cavillo is over 500 yards passing in the game. Now remember, the Ticats have 29 seconds to score before they have to kick it off to open the second overtime half. Cavillo from the shotgun. Has time, has Ted Long. Ted Long over the middle down to the 20-yard line with 22 seconds left. Now, Hamilton does have a timeout. Each team gets 1 timeout in the overtime period, and Hamilton will spend its now.
Yeah, to Anthony Cavillo's credit, he and John Jenkins and Don Southern.
Call it! Call it!
I mean, they're on the same page. They know the situation. They know that the half's going to end, and Mike Kerrigan, who's beside them, with a wealth of knowledge, will not let them make a mistake when they get in the heat of the battle. There's Jim Gilstrap, of course, former head coach of the Ottawa Roughriders. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge right there.
Seam. Come on, look here. Hurry up. 4F seam, and then either him or Jason in the corner on the outside.
Anthony Cavillo will go to work here with 22 seconds left as John Jenkins sends the play in. First down, Hamilton from the 20-yard line. 22 seconds left. That's an eternity. You can probably run 4 plays here.
Well, he's got plenty of time. I think, you know, you could hear John Jenkins say, go to the seam for Jason Phillips. Now, it's to the left of Cavillo.
A career high, 527 passing yards for Cavillo. Here comes the rush. Cavillo slings it away, incomplete. Jason Phillips broke the pattern off, and there is a pile of people on top of the Hamilton quarterback. 16 seconds remaining in the first overtime half. He got hit by a train there.
Well, he took a lot of heat, and Montreal kind of, Alfred Payton haven't talked a lot about him, but he and Doug Peterson still get a good shot on Cavillo.
That was Miles Gorell backing up into him.
Not a lot of sacks tonight, but the quarterbacks have taken their licks.
Jenkins and Kerrigan looking on from the sideline. 16 seconds to go. 2nd and 10 Ticats from the Montreal 20. Cavillo, lots of time, looking to the corner of the end zone to Matt Cody. Cody makes the catch. No, he's out of bounds. Working on quick look here. If he gets 1 foot down, it's a touchdown. As it is, it's now 3rd down, Ticats.
Well, we're looking from a long way away here, and it's tough to tell. You're going to get a pretty good look here at Matt Cody, and did he keep 1 foot in?
Just got to get 1 down when you make the catch. There's the catch. No, he did not. Great call by the official in the end zone. Oh, look out. Objectionable conduct is called against the Ticats. Mike Saunders. Now, the field goal try for Osbaldiston would have been 27. It's now 37 yards.
Bullshit, Jen.
Montreal puts in their team back to, prevent the single point if it's missed. They've actually got 5 guys back there.
Terry Baker's in the end zone. 9 seconds to play in the first half. Kerrigan with the hold. Osbaldiston with the field goal. It is good. Hamilton cuts the Montreal lead down to 4 with 4 seconds left in the first overtime half. Montreal will get the second half kickoff here in overtime. Not like Mike Saunders to get called for objectionable conduct for the more level-headed guys in the league, but imagine they missed that field goal, they might never hear the end. So now Montreal will get the ball with 4 seconds left in the first half of overtime at their own 35-yard line.
I'll tell you what, these players are going to be tired tonight. They played a hard football game. It's been a great game because you know what? There's been tremendous runs. There's been tremendous catches, and the physical intensity of this game has been at a very high level too. There's been a lot of good hits in this game. I mean, this has had everything.
Seems like 3 weeks ago that Charles Gordon unloaded on Earl Winfield. It was, in fact, in the first half. And Montreal will simply end the opening half of overtime by downing it. And now Hamilton will kick off to start the second half of overtime. The Alouettes have the lead. They'll get the ball back in overtime when we come back. Bob Price on the right, Scott Spurgeon on the left. They've seen this story before. That's Jim Pop, their player personnel man in behind. Montreal and Hamilton just seem to have a habit of playing close games this year. When you think back to their 2 meetings on August the 7th, it came right down to the game's final moments when Norman Bradford went in for the touchdown for the Montreal Alouettes, who won it 29-22. A month and a half later, they played at Iverwood Stadium in Hamilton. It was 32-15 Montreal in the fourth quarter, but the Ticats came back and on a field goal in the final play of the game won it by a final score of 39-38. Now, here, the Ticats trail by 4 in overtime and will have to kick it off to the Alouettes. Spencer McLennan is back deep along with Nigel Williams. You mentioned it before, Leaf. This has been a well-played game from start to finish.
This has been major league entertainment tonight. I mean, you have to love watching this. I mean, it's fun to broadcast. It's fun to watch.
Bad news for you is you're not getting to Ottawa till the middle of the night now.
That doesn't matter. I'm into this game.
From the 35-yard line, Osbaldiston will kick it off. The key play in the overtime so far, a fumble by Jason Phillips that led to a Tracy Ham to Nigel Williams touchdown. This is Spencer McLennan from the 12. And McLennan is hammered early by Donovan Wright, who gets down to make a big special team stop for the Hamilton Ticats. And as we mentioned before, both teams have had trouble returning the football. That's a major reason why. A 63-yard kickoff, an 18-yard return. The Alouettes will go to work without Mike Pringle in their offensive backfield.
Well, watch to the right of your screen. Just knifes in, times it perfectly, and that's a heck of a hit by Donovan Wright.
Donovan Wright and Mike Campbell of the Ticats, both out of Slippery Rock University,
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. You play against them?
Never did, but they are on the schedule every once in a while, but I never played against them. Well, my old school.
From the 27-yard line, the give goes off to Michael Souls, and Souls bursts through the Hamilton line for a first down as he gets to the 41-yard line, a pickup of 14 yards. And speaking of college football, Michael Souls had a pretty good career, the Vanier Cup MVP when McGill won the national championship in the late 80s.
Well, nothing fancy when Michael Souls runs the football. He just better buckle your chin strap and get ready for a 220-pound fullback coming through the line.
First down, Montreal from the 40. The Owls will try to run down the clock here in the second half of overtime. Ham rolling out under pressure. Cuts back in, and Tracy Ham close to a first down, and I'll tell you what, did he get hit? Joe Montfort kind of tripped him up, and then you can hear the collision up here as Tracy Ham got pounded.
Well, there have been some pretty good collisions tonight. You can hear that helmet popping and shoulder pads hitting all the way up.
And Montfort is shaken up on the play. Not often a quarterback and a linebacker get into collision, and the linebacker gets the worst of it.
Well, you've seen that tonight with Calvillo's running, too. Both quarterbacks like to take on the tacklers.
And Ham is limping as well. Think about Tracy Ham. He's gone to the sidelines twice, shaken up.
He always limps, though. I mean, I think he has a permanent limp.
He limps off the bus. One of those guys just looks like he can't run all the time. Like Tracy always looks like he's always shaken up, then he takes off for 18 yards on you. His neck was dinged on the last series when he threw the touchdown pass to Nigel Williams. Look at that, 62 first downs in the football game. The give goes off to Michael Souls, and Souls pulls his way close to midfield as he gets up to the 54-yard line. And a pickup of 3 yards.
Of course, Hamilton, this clock is just winding down in this second 5-minute half. I mean, they've been in this situation for the entire ball game where they're going to need a touchdown to either win or, to win this game now.
Don't forget, though, they got that 80 or a 70-yard touchdown pass to Rob Creefo in the playbook.
That's it.
Yeah, let's just unveil that again. Second down for the Alouettes, and a big defensive play here for Hamilton. And over the middle, incomplete. He was looking there for Jock Climby, who was covered on the play by Greg Eaglin. Montreal will be forced to punt with 2:49 to play. And don't look now, here come the Ticats, and again, the relentless Hamilton Ticats.
Well, their mission is very simple and straightforward. 2:49 to go. They need a touchdown. Bob Price has said, I've seen this before. I've been in this position already once tonight.
Don Sutherland talking it over there with Mike Kerrigan, who has his helmet on the Hamilton sideline. Terry Baker sends it short to Matt Cody. Matt Cody gets up to the 30-yard line. And that's where Hamilton will start this possession, a 36-yard punt and a return of 10. Tomorrow, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Cal Murphy are in Ottawa to take on the Ottawa Rough Riders. 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah, Winnipeg's going to try and rebound from a rather lackluster performance a week ago in Hamilton to try and, they have 2 games left to try and get back on track and get ready for the playoffs. They'll travel to Edmonton in the semifinal to meet the Edmonton Eskimos.
By the way, Mike Kerrigan apparently sees the game so hard-hitting that he does wear his helmet while on the sidelines. Cavillo remains in there. From the 30, Cavillo slinging it, knocked down over the middle. Tracy Gravely got a hand on the football and knocks it down. 2:18 to play in the overtime.
Tracy Gravely will come from the left of your screen, and Anthony Cavillo trying to get it in again to one of those seams.
Wow,
there he is.
Tracy Gravely, the former BC Lion, in his 6th year in the Canadian Football League. Second down and 10. Cavillo in the shotgun. 2 minutes to play in overtime. Cavillo wants to throw it deep, can't find anyone open, slings it for Cody, and Cody almost makes the catch. Interference will be the call. A flag comes down at the 45-yard line. Charles Gordon down there with Spencer McLennan, and another big pass interference call. Wow.
And again, you mentioned it earlier, Gord, the poorly thrown footballs sometimes create that contact, and that's exactly what happened to Charlie Gordon as Matt Cody tried to cut back underneath and react to where the football was thrown. You're going to get a great look at it here, and watch at the end, Cody tries to fight back to the football.
And here comes the call.
Illegal procedure. Hamilton 66. Deliberate forward pass interference. Montreal number 25. Second out repeated.
Oh, yikes. Would have been a 36-yard gain on the penalty. Instead, It's second down for the Ticats at their own 35-yard line. What an enormous penalty that was. .1:55 to play in the overtime period. Saunders, and Saunders jumps ahead and should have a first down as he gets to the 41-yard line. 1:42 to play in the overtime period, and it will move the sticks. Clock is running.
Well, I think essentially what Hamilton's thinking, 1:30 to go. You know, I mean, this is their last possession, and you know, they go to the draw play there, they get the first down, and then they restart now.
1:20 to play in the overtime period. Here comes the rush on Cavillo. Under pressure, he is dropped. Grant Carter got there along with Paul Randolph. Give Carter the sack and a loss of 11.
Well, Grant Carter waited a long time. Here he is to get his first sack of the night, and he works hard, keeps coming. Great speed on the outside on David Hack. Gets around him. He's actually double teamed, beats the double team and gets the sack.
Grant Carter now with 14 sacks on the year, tied with Melvin Hunter of Edmonton for second on the list, one behind Angelo Snipes of Winnipeg, and making a strong case as one of the top defensive players in the league.
That's tough to argue with.
Second and 21 from the 30, and Cavillo calls timeout. The Montreal Alouettes celebrated the fact that their fans forced Cavillo to take that one. Grant Carter, you think he's a little pumped up tonight? Now the crowd is really up and making noise. Better than 20,000 here tonight at the Olympic Stadium. For a guy who's not used to playing wide receiver, he's not on the same page as the quarterback.
I think you're right. You know, oftentimes in these situations, when the scramble's on, it's just tough to read what Creepo's going to do. They don't play together that much.
Third and 21. Ticats down by 4, must score a touchdown to win it. Disgust. The Montreal Alouettes will win the football game and will finish second in the East Division. They will play host to the Ticats in 2 weeks in the Eastern semifinal, and if that game is half as good as this one, it'll be great.
Now Cody should get the ball right there, and a little late, a little high, and Herb Smith just gets the easy interception.
6th interception of the year for Irv Smith. The Montreal Alouettes, who lead the league in takeaways, have now taken the ball away from the opposition 61 times this year. Cavillo fires the helmet. And the Alouettes will simply down the ball in their final home game of the year, of the regular year. And Bob Price gets a shower. Next week they'll be in Winnipeg to close out the regular season, and then they'll take on the Tabbies in the East semifinal. And I'm not so sure Hamilton won't come into that game with a bit of confidence. You think about what happened here in overtime. I mean, the Miles Carell procedure penalty negates the pass interference. Hamilton would have been working down deep in Montreal territory. The Owls win it. They fell behind 14-0, but they hang on to record the victory. 45-41 in a game that featured better than 700 yards in passing offense. Cavillo throws for more than 550 in a losing cause. Bob Price's team records the win to go to 11-6 on the season. The Ticats fall to 8-9. What a great football game. Time now for the Corral Radically Canadian Players of the Game. Not much doubt about the defensive player. How about Harold Nash? 2 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, a fumble recovery in overtime. He was a one-man gang for the Montreal Alouettes. And on offense, Tracy Ham, 20 of 30 passing, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Alouette victory. Montreal wins it in overtime, the second extra period win for Montreal this year. Back to more on the CFL Live right after this. The TSN Turning Point brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. This is Nigel Williams who runs the post quarter on Derek Greer in overtime. Williams with the touchdown catch. Thanks for the telestrator pin, by the way, Leaf. That put the Montreal Alouettes ahead in the extra period for good. Better than 1,100 yards in total offense in the game. Nigel Williams with his first catch of the football game. It was in overtime, and it was a big one. The two teams in a slugfest here, and that's the Turning Point. A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of Canadian coaches in amateur sport on behalf of TSN and Apple Auto Glass. Guaranteed the pick of the crop from coast to coast. 45-41 the final score here. Let's send you back to Darren Detition at our CFL Live Control Center.
Thank you very much, Gordon. What a thoroughly entertaining football game this was, Coach.
No question about it. These two teams can't stop each other, and they can score points against each other, so either one of them might be in the playoff game against Toronto.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a toss-up for sure. But big players got to make big plays in big games, and Hamilton just didn't step up and do that at all.
You know what, anybody who knows me knows I don't shill for anyone, but you watch this kind of game and you realize that in no other league would you see this entertaining kind of spectacle, and you wonder how in the world could this league be in jeopardy of dying at this point.
Okay, gentlemen, thanks very much for your closing comments. We'll take a short break, and when we come back here on the CFL Live, we'll wrap up shop. Stay tuned.
Time now for the block of the game, brought to you by Pepsid AC. You can be heartburn-free with Pepsid AC, and this block sent Mike Pringle home freely.
Michael Souls right here, and he will eventually kick out the outside. I'll tell you what, give a lot of credit to Mark Dixon. I think they get co-blockers of the game for this effort. This sprung Pringle loose for his touchdown. Dixon, super block on Embry, and Mike Souls cuts him down, and Pringle's into the end zone. That's pretty good.
Those blocks bring Pringle loose for his second touchdown of the game as the Owls win in overtime. You're watching the CFL Live on TSN.